I probably shouldn't admit this, Cole, as a sports talk radio host.
You mean mute your mic?
Tuned in last night for the first time these Major League Baseball postseason and watched a few minutes of postseason baseball.
You're not a baseball guy, though.
I grew up playing. Here's the crazy thing. I grew up playing baseball.
Yeah.
I liked baseball all the way through high school. I love college baseball.
Yeah.
MLB just
doesn't move the meter for you.
Doesn't do it for me unless the Atlanta Braves are still in it. And I think that's the big problem that Major League Baseball finds itself having right now. If your team isn't in it, you're probably not watching, which is not necessarily the case when you're talking about the NFL, when you're talking about the playoffs. You're into it no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Like you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. Your team's never in it when the playoffs come around.
Oh, Diesel.
I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. They don't even make the playoffs. Haven't in a long, long time.
We'll be in the same spot with you this year.
But I'm still watching the playoffs. Still watching NFL playoffs. That's not me when it comes to Major League Baseball. And I'm pretty sure, Cole, that there's a fair portion of the audience right now who are Atlanta Braves fans, because let's be real. This is and always will be Braves country, who just aren't going to watch because the Atlanta Braves are not in it. Would you say that's accurate?
No, I think it is accurate. You know, baseball is it's almost like you have sports and then you have baseball. Really, I really do mean. And again, baseball out there, guy that's listening, that's not a shot. That's not meant to be derogatory, Diesel. But I agree in the sense that you have to be baseball guy in order to follow the postseason. Now, I don't consider myself baseball guy. I follow the postseason, but I don't sit and watch every single inning. Now, when the World Series gets here, it's different. I will watch the World Series. It's different. But baseball is a sport where the dedicated fans who have grown up watching baseball their entire life, Diesel, seriously, that's the way they're geared. That's the way they're wired. They watch every game. It doesn't matter who's on. They can sit. It's like me in the NBA. I can sit down on a Tuesday evening in December and watch an entire NBA game, and I love it.
A random game between two teams
in the NBA. In the NBA. However, I don't have the same passion for the MLB that I do for the NBA. So the passion's just not there. And I think for the majority of people where we live, you're right. It is Braves country, but the passion's always been geared to football, and it'll always be that way.
Well, Cole, you and I are in the minority right now because Major League Baseball in the postseason is seeing soaring ratings.
Yeah.
And the way this postseason has played out, the teams that have advanced, this is likely a dream scenario for Major League Baseball that they may never achieve again, that they may never have fall into their laps again. Consider the fact, Cole, that we've got 5 major market teams. We had 5 major market teams make it to the final 6.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Both New York City teams, Los Angeles, Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City. They made deep, deep playoff runs. Both New York teams are still in it. Los Angeles is still in it. And Middle America, Cleveland is still in it. I mean, what we're seeing right now is a ratings perfect storm for Major League Baseball. They've seen a 25% increase from last year's wild card round.
Yeah.
This season, that's the highest ratings the wild card round has ever achieved in the Major League Baseball postseason. They've seen an 18% increase in divisional series ratings, the highest it's been since 2017. So 7 years, almost a decade, the highest it's been. This is just a dream scenario for Major League Baseball. And the way this thing plays out, Cole, all of these scenarios are good. But as long as the Mets as long as the Yankees take care of Cleveland, which it seems like they're going to do at this point, up 2-0.
It does.
The scenarios for the World Series could be absolutely epic in terms of ratings and interest. Think about it. We could have a Subway Series for the World Series.
You could. And you talked about big markets, Diesel. There's something to be said about baseball and big markets. I'm not saying the correlation doesn't exist in any other sport, but there's always been that correlation, right? There's always been that deep passion, that deep love that those big markets, that those big cities have, like the New York Yankees, like the New York Mets, like the LA Dodgers, like the Kansas. It continues to go, the trickle-down effect. And if you want to notice the ratings, that's one thing. How about this, Diesel? New York, just to show how much baseball is affecting sports right now. New York in September, just the state, took in $2.7 billion in mobile sports betting wagers in the month of December. It's the second highest monthly handle for any U.S. state, and the fourth time New York has gone over $2 billion in total wagers in a month. That shows right there how much New Yorkers love their baseball. I'm not saying Braves fans aren't passionate. I'm not saying Miami Marlins fans aren't passionate or the Cleveland Guardians fans aren't passionate, but there's something to be said about those big cities and the big markets dominating. And when they're good, like they are this year, 3 out of the 4 teams right now are big market teams. They're all really good. They all have a shot, and that's why I think you had the rating spike.
Yeah, and if the quote-unquote small market team, the Cleveland Guardians, did it, they would be the quote-unquote plucky upstarts, the team that has struggled for decades, right? That just has not been able to get over the hump, has been mired in mediocrity, had a movie made about potentially losing the team. Granted, this was in the, 80s? Early 90s when Major League came out, when the series began. But you've got some phenomenal storylines. I just hope for everyone that this World Series is not LA Cleveland, because that would be the worst case scenario of the options, which is still pretty good.
It's got you mentioned the Subway Series being, and the possibility that it could be the World Series. It's got a very good chance.
Yeah.
A really good chance. I do believe that LA and New York are going to be very competitive the rest of the series. And I think it's going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until the final game. However, New York's a good team. New York's not a fluke. It's not like the Washington Nationals a few years ago that came out of the NL East. This is a really good team that's got really good players, that's finally hitting their peak. And when you talk about baseball ratings being up, that's what you have to have. Because if you were to tell me that we're going to have a Yankees-Mets championship compared to a Braves-Rangers championship, the ratings wouldn't compare. The ratings wouldn't compare, Diesel.
Considering the fact that the Mets came from third place in the division, roared past the Braves, and could potentially make it to the World Series, that is the plucky underdog team that we would love to see. Now, Cole, thinking of the possible scenarios, if Los Angeles takes care of the New York Mets and then has to face the New York Yankees, I would have to favor the Yankees to win the World Series, because that would now be, 2 weeks of back-to-back cross-country flights for the LA Dodgers?
Yeah.
And hey, they're flying private. They probably got massage therapists on the plane taking care of every bruise and bump and ache and pain, and they're sipping champagne and having themselves a good time flying high again. But Cole, that's got to take a toll on you after a while.
Well, the reality of it is the Yankees have a monkey, Diesel, that I don't know. If the storylines right now, I understand 4 good teams, 3 teams in huge markets and huge cities. But the biggest storyline, the most important thing to talk about when you talk about these ratings and the possibility of the Yankees going to the championship, they haven't done it since 2009. Yeah. It's been a very long time since the New York Yankees have won the World Series. We know the LA Dodgers were in a very similar situation until they won it in 2020. As you said, Cleveland, 1948, I believe is the last time they won it. And then you have, obviously, the New York Mets, who have a nice history as well. But the Yankees have a monkey on their back that they have to get off. And I believe that you've seen payrolls affect baseball in a really good way, except for the stretch of LA having the largest payroll in MLB history and not winning a championship year after year after year after year. And finally, they broke through in 2020. It's a very similar situation right now with the Yankees. They have the dudes. Like I said, it's been since 2009, but they've got to get this monkey off their back. If they don't, we talk about the Dallas Cowboys all the time, not having, any relevancy, Diesel, since 96. We're not far off in that conversation with the New York Yankees. They haven't been good. They haven't been elite since 2009.
Yeah, so we got some big storylines here. Aaron Judge, obviously, Shohei Ohtani in the mix for a potential, seeing those two go head to head to the two biggest and best power hitters in the game right now, going at each other in a World Series. There's so many fascinating storylines that could come out of this World Series, Cole. I just wonder for a second, being in the football crazed South as we are, is random midweek football more compelling than the championship series? I mean, last night, Cole, what did you watch? I
watched South Alabama and Troy last night.
Okay. Instead of watching Yankees Guardians Game 2 ALCS, Aaron Judge hitting his first home run of this postseason, you watched random Tuesday night Sun Belt football.
Yeah, I did. And it was terrible.
Wow.
It was terrible. Last night's games, all three of them were terrible. But again, I think it has a ton to do with the part of the country that we're in. I'm not saying in melting pots like Charlotte, Greenville, Atlanta. Sure. There's melting pots all across that have these huge baseball fans and this huge fan base of baseball supporters who will watch these game twos. The Yankees Guardians doesn't move the meter much for me. Obviously, if it gets to a game 6, it might be intriguing, but I can't find myself vested. Now, the Mets and the Dodgers is completely different. I'm all in. I will be watching. I have watched the first 2 games. It's the Yankees Guardians. It doesn't do it for me.
And that's what I intended to start the show with.
Yeah.
Is how damning is that for Major League Baseball if people in the South, where baseball should be massively king, where college baseball is huge, right? Is massive. You got sold out stadiums on college campuses all over the Southeast.
Yeah.
If you're telling me that random Tuesday night Sun Belt football, which I think these two teams had a combined 3 wins between them.
The 3 combined wins was between 7-28 for the 3 combined teams.
And that's more compelling than the ALCS. Major League Baseball has got a big fat problem around here. I mean, it's alive and well in the cities. And congratulations to the New York City market, to the Los Angeles market, to the Detroit market, to the Cleveland market. That's great. That's great that it's as popular as it's ever been there. But they've got to look at it as a big problem in the Southeast. They got to look at it as a big problem. I wonder, I'd love to be able to see a coverage map where it shows what areas people are tuned in and watching hotspots, because I guarantee you'd see a big red blob on Los Angeles, a big red blob on New York City, maybe a faint pink blob in Chicago, one in Detroit. Outside of that, total darkness across the country.
That is a very fascinating conversation. You say, Diesel, you believe MLB has a problem here, and I'm not pushing back. However, where my mind goes when you say that is when you talk about a ratings increase, where you talk about MLB and the sport growing with guys like Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge, when you talk about the concerns of the MLB, I'm now truly curious as to if the MLB views this as an issue, because we all know that the South is football land. The South is football country.
I mean, we were even debating on Monday night if the NLCS game was game 1 was played Monday. If that game was being played on Monday, now that would have been game 2. If that game was being played on Monday at 3 in the afternoon, because they didn't want to go up against a random Monday night football game between the Jets and the Bills.
Yeah. Well, it's true though. I mean, again, me watching South Alabama and Troy last night, again, it's college football. Troy's terrible. South Alabama wasn't good. I mean, at one point, Kennesaw State and Middle Tennessee was 2-0. So it wasn't like there was a lot. And New Mexico State beat La Tech. La Tech's horrible, even though they're two. I mean,
but New Mexico State has angered so many of our Tolos over the course of this season, you included, having picked them at some point.
And they won.
And they won with 33 points on the board.
And they were But again, that game being on Tuesday wasn't pickable. If it was, I would have picked it, right? 100%. I mean, I just knew. They were 12-point underdogs, by the way. 12-point under. That would have been a huge win for me. I've already, like you said, I already got burned by the Aggies or the what are they?
They are the Aggies.
Aggies, that's right. I've already got burned by the Aggies once, but it depends on the team for me. I do like baseball. I love the Atlanta Braves. I have my entire life. Here's the difference. I have a vested interest in the Braves. I don't have a vested interest in the rest of the teams in the MLB. When it comes to the NFL playoffs, Diesel, I have a vested interest, sadly, in the Dallas Cowboys. I don't have a vested interest in the Seattle Seahawks versus the Detroit Lions. However, it's still more compelling to me because it's football. That's what we're accustomed to.
What you should have a vested interest in, Tolo's coming up at 4:00. The polls officially open. You have a chance to get in your wire-to-wire upset picks. No early voting on this show. You got to wait until 4:00. And then coming up at 5:15, we have a chance, our last chance, to hook you up with Furman, Western Carolina homecoming tickets. Saturday, 2 p.m. kickoff in Travelers Rest, South Carolina. You want to go to that game? You'd be rooting for the purple team or the purple team. It's entirely up to you.
Purple people eaters is who you can root for.
We used to call it purple, that special color of Furman purple.
I like it, though. Going to go to Dewey. Texter says, speaking of the Yankees, their longtime radio guy, John Sterling, described one of their miscues last night as running the bases like drunks.
Well,
didn't hear that.
Speaking of miscues, I tuned in and did see the Guardians shortstop, Brian Rocchio. I don't know how to say his name, where he fumbled, to use a football word. He fumbled an infield pop fly, a routine pop fly. Aaron Judge popped right up to, it was right in front of the second base. Easy play, dropped the ball. Runner on third. Juan Soto came around and scored and put runs on the board for the New York Yankees. And I'm thinking, this is championship series baseball, dropping infield flies.
And Braves fans would ask you not to discuss infield flies because of the sore subject all the way. I mean, what year was it? This is ridiculous. I'm bringing this up, but I believe it was against the Cardinals when the Braves got screwed in the infield fly rule and in the season with, was that Chippers last year? Oh, God. I can't even get my Speaking of miscues, let's go to Dewey. 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. What's up, Dewey?
Yes, the Atlanta Braves should be in the NLCS, but their manager is so incompetent. Brian Snicker, he got all of them people injured. Max Fried, he doesn't need to come back. As far as the Yankees, they're frauds. And the Dodgers are too. Shohei is a big fraud.
So who's going to win it then, Dewey?
The Mets. They're frauds.
Thanks for the call, Dewey.
We're going to go see a play on Fraudway, I guess. Everybody's frauds. You're a fraud. I'm a fraud. Everybody's a fraud. Jersey Joe says, OMG, let's go Mets.
Jersey Joe, are you a Met? I mean, really? Are you the only Mets fan right now? Of the Tolos. I mean, there's just not many. Like in our market.
New Jersey just get a baseball team?
Oh God.
Could you imagine like a Newark, New Jersey? Now they'd have to do something about the smell. But a Newark, New Jersey Major League Baseball team, you could have 3 Major League Baseball teams within probably like 600 yards of each other.
Two's enough. They've already got 2. Well, what do we need 3 for? By the way, Dodgers Mets game 3 tonight. The series is tied 1-1. Let's see who is pitching for. I believe it's Walker Buehler. Yes, versus Severino for the Mets. Should be a good one. I'm thinking about taking the Mets tonight. Mets won. The Dodgers won the first one. Mets won the second one. So should be very interesting.
If you had money on a Major League Baseball game, would you actually watch the whole game, or do you just put money on it and then come back after the game's over to see if you won?
I kind of hop in depending on the score. I do. But I tell you this, man. Not to get on a tangent here. Baseball is hard to bet on. Like it is so hard. And in the course of an MLB season, Diesel, think about it. The best teams of the best will lose 60 games.
True.
You're talking about having that many losses. It is hard to bet on base. I've been burned.
I think with baseball, you bet small and hope they all add up. It's like it's like playing cards at the table. No individual hand is going to make you a ton of money or lose you a ton of money. Just you got to win more than you lose.
That's the goal, and I'm going to try to be that way this weekend. That's my goal this weekend. Diesel, we've discussed playoff contenders, but we look at actual national championship contenders next. How big's that list? How big's your list, Tolos? Diesel, we've touched on the side items, the appetizers over the last few weeks, talking about the teams that are going to get in the playoffs, back their way in, the highest-ranked G5 team. But it's time to get to the meat and potatoes. It's time to get to the substance. It's time to find out who the actual contenders are, who separates themselves, not the pretenders, but the contenders from each Core 4 conference that actually has a shot, not to make the postseason, not to make the expanded playoff, but to win the entire thing. That's what we're going to do. That's what we are tasked with in this segment. Tolos, you can play along as well. 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Phone lines also open. 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. We're tasked, Diesel, with all 4 core conferences finding legitimate national championship contenders. I have a feeling that we're going to upset some of our Tolos in this segment, but that's just the way it goes if we're being honest. Let's start in the biggest. Let's start in the best, the SEC. You and I, we might have a little bit of a different pick here, but of the SEC, I'll let you go first here. Actual contenders to win the national championship. It's the best conference. Who do you like?
So I've got 3 right now. 3 that I think could go win a national championship. Of those 3, the most likely that I see making their run in is an easy one. That's Texas. Texas is just crushing everybody right now. They've got the number 1 defense in college football. They've got a great offense. They've got a hell of a backup quarterback. If Quinn Ewers goes down, I think Texas is a shoe-in to, at the very least, make the finals, to make the national championship game. I'm going to go for my other 2, Cole, who I think could make it from the SEC into the Final 4. Georgia and Tennessee.
Ooh.
Georgia and Tennessee. Georgia, they've got so much pedigree, right? And you put a Kirby Smart-led team into that scenario, I think that's where they shine. I think that's where they thrive. Carson Beck is phenomenal as a quarterback. I'm putting Tennessee in there, though, because Tennessee has an incredible defense. Okay. They've got a top 5 defense in college football. They've got a good offense. They can put up a lot of points. I understand they've had their struggles a little bit this season, but it's not really been offensively, right? They're a team that, if the defense isn't playing great one game, they can put up a lot of points and cover that up. If the offense doesn't play great, the defense can shut the other team down and cover that up. So that's why I'm going Texas, Tennessee, and Georgia as my 3 SEC teams that are contenders for the national championship.
Contenders for the Natty. I don't hate your 3. I also myself, Diesel, have 3 in the SEC. However, you and I disagree on 1. We disagree
Texas?
on 1. No, Texas is the best team in the country. Unless the pigs start flying here sometime soon, Texas is still, in my opinion, going to be the best team in the country. I have Texas. I have Georgia.
Okay.
I don't think Georgia's playing their best football right now. However, the national championship isn't right now. I trust Kirby Smart. I trust that staff. I also trust the talent that they have, that they will get better and look like they looked at the very beginning of the season when they played the Clemson Tigers. So I'll go Texas. I'll go Georgia. But out of the SEC, I told you yesterday, I think LSU has a shot. I think LSU is a legitimate national championship contender because of 2 words, Garrett Nussmeier. Am I the biggest believer in Brian Kelly? Do I have a ton of faith in Brian Kelly, Diesel? I really don't. He's a good coach. I don't like the guy. He's a good coach, but I don't know that he's a good enough coach to get you over the hump and take your team to the next level. However, what I've seen in 2024 from Garrett Nussmeier, yes, I do have enough belief. I do watch that guy play and think, man, this is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He truly is. He's that good. He, in my opinion, is an elite college quarterback. And if you have an elite college quarterback, you have a chance to win the national championship. So for that reason, I'll go LSU. Again, I think their schedule, if they can get by Bama, I think their schedule is favorable. However, Tennessee, the reason I'll push back is I don't know that their defense is going to be consistent enough down the stretch against the opponents they have. I do have a little bit of concern with Tennessee because of what I've seen in the last few weeks. Are they very good? Yes. But Diesel, I also think Tennessee slipped a little bit in these last few weeks.
Okay. I mean, LSU is certainly rounding into form. You know, we were all thinking as soon as this season started, oh man, what is Brian Kelley going to do? Right? They started the season with a 27-20 loss in Las Vegas to USC, where they didn't look phenomenal, right? Nussmeier didn't look phenomenal in that game, but they have certainly turned things around and become a much more consistent team. Now, their defense did give up 33 points against South Carolina, a team that, as much as we discuss on this show, has a tremendous amount of inconsistencies on offense. They make a ton of mistakes, right? I think this is not an insult to South Carolina and our Gamecock fans in the audience.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Because I truly believe that next year is going to be the year where Lenora Sellers and Mazeo Bennett and Nick Harbor take another big step forward. I think it's just a year early for South Carolina offensively to be consistently a good offense. But LSU had a terrible defensive day against South Carolina on September 14th. So LSU has put up a ton of points, 44, 36, 34, and 42. And 29 against Ole Miss last week. They've been a very, very good offensive football team, Cole. But we could easily be talking about a team with 2 losses right now.
Very well could.
You know, they Ole Miss took them to overtime in their house.
Yep.
And Garrett Nussmeier had that phenomenal throw down the stretch, to end the football game. But it easily could have gone a different way. So for that reason, that's the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause about LSU, is it seems to me that they sometimes lose a little focus.
Yeah, before we move on from the SEC, I want to get to a couple of comments on the YouTube stream and Facebook, Twitter, where you can watch the show. We're live, 72 people in the stream right now. You should hop in if you haven't done so yet. JB says only 3 are between all Power 4 conferences, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State. He also says Georgia's going to miss the playoff. They're going to lose 3 games and go 9-3.
They still got to face Texas.
They still have Texas this week.
Yeah.
JB, I don't disagree that they could lose 3 games. However, I'm just saying I think when you look at the totality of the team, I think they're good enough to win the national championship. You may be right, JB. They may lose because, look, if they lose Saturday, that's their – I'm telling you, you might be right, but I'm just saying overall, I think they have the team to do it. Before we move on to the other 3 conferences, we've had 2 Tolos text in their upset pick. Tolos, you're 30 minutes too early. The Upset Picks Challenge opens at 4 p.m. The doors are currently closed, so check back at 4 p.m. That's when we open. We're still prepping the food right now, so we'll be open at 4, okay? We'll see you at 4. Diesel, you pick Big 10, Big 12, or ACC next?
Let's go. We're not going to go Big 12 because I don't think anybody from the Big 12
Well, let's go there then. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's quick. Quick conversation.
Nobody. We thought Utah was going to be a contender. They're a pretender. BYU, that is a long stretch. I think BYU is a very, very good football team.
They are, but not a contender.
They're not a national championship contender. They could make the playoff. And I'm thinking at this point they're my strongest candidate from the Big 12 to make the field of 12.
I think so.
But I don't see them making the Final Four or making the finals.
So Diesel and I say Big 12, nobody. And again, Correct. If you just tuned in, we're discussing teams, the core 4 conferences that actually have a shot to win the national championship. So
they ain't going nowhere.
They're not. Nobody. Our literal answer on our run sheets, nobody.
Exactly.
0. Nada.
Exactly.
We'll go Big 10 or ACC.
Let's go ACC next.
Okay.
And I think there's one. This
one's interesting,
and it's a bit of a stretch for number 2.
You're not going to upset Madcraft, are you?
I am going to upset Madcraft.
No.
Here. I am going to upset. I don't care about upsetting Madcraft because he can have a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing. Madcraft can get mad at you in the comment sections and then not show up to Dave and Buster's on Saturdays or Sundays at 1 o'clock.
Oh, no show.
Every week I'm there. Madcraft, you got something to say about it? Come at me, bro. I'll be there Sunday at 1 o'clock every Sunday, no matter what.
I need to make one too.
Oh, it's a blast. It's a blast. No, Clemson is the team that has a chance that really could push. I'm not super high on Clemson's ability to go win a national championship, but if I had to pick one from the ACC, I'm saying Clemson. And then Miami, to me, it's too risky to put any kind of money or any kind of scratch behind Miami. They've been in too many high-scoring track meets lately. They got a good defense, but it's been against bad competition. So I think their defensive rankings are a little overinflated by a bad schedule. Miami hasn't really had to prove it against anybody. Now, that Florida game is going to come back and maybe look different by the end of the season, but we got to judge by the whole body of work. Right. Clemson, I feel like about a 6 out of 10 confident saying that Clemson could be a contender for this, a legitimate contender. Miami, I'm more like a 4.
I don't hate that. Here's what I'm going to do. You and I both on our run sheets before the show starts. We go through, we prep, we put the topics down, we answer our own questions, and I'm making a change to mine. Mid-show. I'm making a change.
Oh, that's big.
That's a big change.
Bold.
Diesel, I don't think anybody from the ACC is a legit contender.
Nobody?
Nobody.
Not one?
Here's the deal.
You don't think Cade Klubnik can throw for 500 yards against Texas's defense? Or
is Wake Forest going to dress up like Texas for Halloween? I mean, come on. What do we do? Listen, Miami has a national championship quarterback. Miami doesn't have a national championship defense. They don't. I'm telling you. They don't have a championship defense. Miami versus Texas today, Miami would not stand a chance.
You called blowout city in that game.
I mean, I'm telling you.
We see blowouts in the playoff all the time. I bring that up on this show all the time. Anybody saying so-and-so is a pretender, so-and-so doesn't belong to be there. Well, guess what? Teams that quote-unquote belong there get blown out in the 14 playoff all the time. So whether it was the semifinal games or the national championship games, blowouts happen all the time. I could see Miami getting absolutely boat raced and thrown back into the ocean by Texas.
Now, Clemson, in my opinion, will make the playoff. They'll probably be competitive, in my opinion, in the playoff. However, when I say I don't see any teams out of the ACC that are legitimate national title contenders, I ask myself the question, what has Clemson shown me against quality opponents that they're a national contender? Not just this year, last year as well. And you can say, Cole, that this is last year's teams versus it. I get it. But the last 2 times they played Georgia, they didn't get in the end zone. They didn't score offensively. What has Clemson shown me that proves nothing? Nothing. Not zip. Nada. So I can't. They're beating up right now on the sisters of the poor. I get that. But there's no substance to where I can say Clemson's a national championship contender right now. I don't see blowouts against the ACC as impressive. You've got to do it against real contenders, and that leaves the Big Ten.
Yeah. Well, Madcraft pushed back on us and said defense needs to tighten up a bit. That's very true. Very true. But has the offense not proven elite? Well, we just said that, Madcraft. We believe the offense at Miami is elite. If you can come back from 28 down against anyone, you can score with anyone. Well, you did that against Cal.
Yeah.
You did that against
bad Cal team, by the way.
A bad Cal team. Cal does have a top 50 defense, number 41, by the way. But you're not exactly doing that against teams like Penn State or Ohio State.
And you're not going to because the schedule sucks.
Right, exactly. I mean, we have to go with our eyes, not with our hearts.
And that's why I had
speaking from the heart.
Well, look, I had Clemson on there to begin with. And I talked myself out of it. So before we run Big Ten, who do you like as actual contenders for the national championship out of the Big Ten?
I've got 3, as a matter of fact.
Ooh.
I've got Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State. Penn State has a lights-out defense, top 10 defense, a decent offense that can score, right? They're certainly not Miami's off. If Penn State had Miami's offense, they would be a top 3 in the country football team right now.
Yeah.
They'd be a top 3 in both offense and defense. Penn State's defense is that good. But I think their offense is just a little bit weak. But what I do like about Penn State is they seem to be a blue-collar football team that can stay in it with anybody.
I've got 2. I've got Ohio State and Oregon. I don't see Penn State as of yet. Could that change? Yes, it could. But as of right now, I have Ohio State, Oregon, and that totals to 5 teams: Georgia, LSU, Texas, Ohio State, Oregon. I have 5 teams as actual true contenders for the national championship, Diesel.
We're going to know about Penn State on November 2nd. when they face Ohio State at home.
Yeah.
Right, we're gonna
We'll
learn everything we need to know about Drew Aller and Penn State on November 2nd. When we come back, Cole, it's been 10 years since an op-ed changed everything in sports. We're going to talk about that next. Just 12 minutes away from opening up the floodgates, Cole, of picks that are about to start rolling in at 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. Here in just 12 minutes, you can start getting in your week 8 upset picks. Cole, we're coming up on a big anniversary for you, at least. November 10th. It's going to mark the 10th anniversary of NBA Commissioner Adam Silver writing an op-ed in the New York Times with the line, betting on professional sports is currently illegal in most of the United States outside of Nevada. I believe we need a different approach. That was what Adam Silver believed 10 years ago. He still believes the same, Cole. He still believes that we need some major overhauling in the way we handle sports betting in the United States. Yes or no, do you agree that we still need a lot of work when it comes to sports betting?
Wow. That's a loaded question. Do we need a different approach to Adam Silver's point? Do we need some sort of shakeup? Yeah, I mean, I think things could be better. However, it's the same. I look at it the same way as I do NIL. Once you open the can, it's so hard to close it. Well, I don't know. I mean, the legalization is going to continue in other states, I believe, but I just don't know how much of that tightrope you can put back on.
It's legal in now, 40 some odd states. South Carolina, one of the few where it's not legal to gamble on sports. And I understand that there are ways in the state of South Carolina that you can bet on sports, but it is not completely legal in the state of South Carolina. What Adam Silver still wants, Cole, and this is the big thing, this is the big bugaboo for Adam, is that he still believes there should be a federal framework. Instead of what he calls a hodgepodge of state-by-state laws, he believes that we need federal law when it comes to sports gambling. So essentially, take it out of Governor Henry McMaster's hands. Don't let him decide whether you can bet or not. Let the federal government decide if you can gamble. And then that way, Cole, it's the same across the board. There is no going across state lines. There is no illegally hiding your computer's location with a VPN and then betting in California or Nevada or New York. It's you do it in your state and it's all taxed the same way. And we're not sending potential business out of market to another state. Cole, do you believe that federal framework is necessary here?
Well, look, if it depends what your goal is. What is your end goal? If your end goal is to use it to help the economy, then sure. There's a lot of things that are illegal that if you legalize them would boost the economy. I don't know the direct effects. I'm too ignorant on the subject to know the direct effects on how gambling could boost South Carolina's economy. We hear statistics when it comes to marijuana and the legalization of that and how it could boost the economy. From a federal standpoint, I don't know why they would have any pushback or any reason not to legalize it in all 50 states.
Yeah, you can gamble on player props in the state of South Carolina, but you can't gamble on single game outcomes. And that's not because the state of South Carolina legislature decided, player props, they're less harmful or whatever. It's just, it's not on the books. There's no law for it on the books. And it's so far back in the backlog, and or there are people with something with a stake in the game saying, hey, don't tackle that issue yet. I'm making money in this space over there. Your state's making money in this space over there. Don't go there. That we haven't quite come around to that here in the state of South Carolina, Cole. The NBA, Major League Baseball, the NFL, they've all got tremendous business tied up with all of these major gambling companies. Our radio stations are making money off of sports betting, even though we're not, even though it's not legal to sports bet in the state of South Carolina. We have a show about sports betting here, Cole. But it's a fascinating thing that it took years after Adam Silver wrote this op-ed before it actually came to fruition outside of the state of Nevada. And so it's going to be fascinating to see 10 years from now, where are we with sports betting in the state of South Carolina and the United States as a whole.
We have a betting show that you can hear nationwide without even having to have the Odyssey app because the host is so loud. The host screams so much. You can hear it from any state. Wherever you are, you can hear it. My God.
Legend has it he doesn't even use a microphone.
What is a microphone? What is that? Diesel, it's time. 7 minutes from now, I'm calling for this week to be the biggest week yet in Upset Picks Challenge history. That requires you Tolos who have been sitting on your hands the entire time to join the Upset Picks Challenge, brought to you by Ingles Markets. Next. 3, 2, 1, go, Tolos. And we're off.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing.
I like that. It is time. The Upset Picks Challenge is here. We hope you have your upset pick, because if you don't, well, guess what?
You're a loser.
That was I'm done.
What?
I'm never doing another second of sports radio.
What?
We both
Did we just become best friends?
Yup. We both said the exact same thing at the exact same time, and that wasn't planned. We don't really mean that. Maybe we do, kind of, but get your upset pick in.
L7 Weenie.
That's like 3 movie references in a span of 60 seconds. I even have my upset pick. We hope you do as well. Diesel, can't wait to hear yours. The Upset Picks Challenge. If you're new to the show, I do know that we have new listeners, new Tolos every single day. Let's see. Earlier in the show from the 743. Hey, guys, love the show. Been tuned in for about 3 weeks now. Used to listen to another station here in the upstate, but love the new show. Every single day we have new Tolos join the show. Find us for the very first time. The text line is blowing up. The Upset Picks Challenge. Here's what it is.
Buzzing.
You look at ESPN.com. You find an underdog that you think will win the game outright. The lines are locked in at 3 o'clock on Wednesdays, and you have a chance to enter the Upset Picks Challenge, brought to you by Ingles. It's a running tally every single week to see who will have bragging rights at the end of the season. If you find a game that you like, what you do is you text it into the show, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Again, that's 71307, keyword fan. If you don't use fan, we won't see your text. And you tell us 3 things. Number 1, your name. Number 2, the game. And number 3, the spread. So, for example, CJ from Greer chimed in. He's one of a million texts that have come in the last 2 minutes. CJ from Greer, ECU plus 16 over Army. That's how you do it. Tolos that have been playing, we appreciate you. If you haven't joined the challenge yet, let's make this week the biggest yet. Diesel, you said how many played last week?
We had 112 pickers last week.
That's going to be tough to top.
Wow. 112, which included somewhere in the range of 15 new Tolos who had never played in the Upset Picks Challenge before. It is completely free.
Yes.
Everybody who's made, like, what do I got to do? What do I got to do? Well, nothing but besides go on ESPN.com, find a game where you think the betting underdog is going to win the game outright. Remember, we're not going against the spread. We're going against outright wins.
Yep.
And then you text us your name, your game, and the spread to 71307. It's fun to be a part of. That's all you're doing here. We're doing this for fun. Think about this, Cole. Could you imagine? I forget the number that Dan sent me the other day. I think it was like 175 unique Tolos who are playing this game
this year.
When there's no this year, there's no prize whatsoever. They're just playing because it's fun. They're playing because it's frustrating as hell to try to pick.
It's
outright upsets. It's hard.
Let's go to the phones. You can also get your pick in by the phone if you choose to do it that way. Delvin, 844 fan phone. Delvin wants to chime in. Delvin, what's up, man? We cannot wait to hear your upset pick.
Yeah, USC let me down last week. I thought we were going to get it, but that's what happened in the game. Give me Nebraska plus 6.5 over Indiana.
Nebraska plus 6.5.
That's one that shocks me a little bit because Indiana's really good this year. And I know Nebraska has dropped a couple of tough games. I think Nebraska's a good football team. And I looked at this one yesterday. Cole talked me out of it, Delvin. So maybe you could talk me back into it. Why are you taking this one?
Because Indiana ain't played nobody. They ain't one person they don't play.
That's true.
6.5 points.
Got a point.
Delvin, we appreciate you, man.
Delvin. Delvin is a perennial beast in this challenge, Cole. Until this year came along.
I jinxed him.
Delvin is always. We've done this, I think, 3 years prior to this one, at least, maybe 4. Delvin has always been inside the top 15. He's always been really good at picking upsets. This year has not been Delvin's year, and that's what can be so damn frustrating about this challenge is you could be really good one year and you could be awful the next.
You can be. And prime example, me. I'm awful. It's absolutely incredibly difficult. And big shout out to Just Jess, who is the first one in today. 5 minutes ago, she was ready. She says, I'm taking Air Force +7 over CSU. Clemson Oculus going with NC State +10 over Cal. Clemson Oculus, appreciate you being in the challenge. Noel says, give me Georgia Tech +11 against the Fighting Irish Notre Dame. Boomer Bill, Texas or North Texas over Memphis +10. I did look at that one, Boomer Bill. Tolo Steve says Boston College +7 over Virginia Tech. CJ from Greer, ECU +16 over Army. Beckham, Tennessee over Alabama -3. Palmetto Buckeyes, Nebraska over Indiana +6.5. Keith and Fountain Inn. Tolo Keith and Fountain Inn, rather. Appreciate that, Tolo Keith. Ball State over Vandy, 22.5. Swinging for the fences there. Madcraft, Georgia Southern +9.5. Marshall, Brian Andrews wants Georgia State +9 versus Marshall. Texter from the 432. We need your name, 432. You put NCSU versus Cal -10.5.
This one came back around and got it back in. That was Michael in Simpsonville.
Good.
Realized
Michael,
his mistake. And hey, Tolos, because we always kind of have this problem. It usually pops up once or twice a week. Make sure you're sending in your pick with the same name presented the same way every time. So if it's Matt M. from Gaffney, make sure you put Matt M. from Gaffney every time, not just Matt or Matt M. or Matt from Gaffney. We may think that those are two different names. So no matter what, make sure that you put your name down the same way every single time.
Good note. Let's see here. Dakota and Duncan, Georgia Tech +11 over Notre Dame. JT and Greer, South Carolina +1.5 over Oklahoma. Did that line move to 1.5, JT?
I have been looking hard at this Georgia Tech Notre Dame game.
Have you?
And you talked me out of it yesterday because Notre Dame's defense is really, really good. And I said Haynes King is elite playing at home, but they're not playing at home. They're not playing at Bobby Dodd Stadium. They're playing this one at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So for that reason, and Cole, because the number one pick very, 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 very rarely hits. And I'm seeing a lot of people taking this Georgia Tech +11 against Notre Dame game.
I looked at it.
Yeah.
I looked at it. I had interest.
I swear to you, Cole, now that I've said this and I'm talking myself out of that pick, it's going to hit. It's going to hit, and it's going to hit. You know why?
You're not going to choose it?
Twisted Whisker picked it. No. Twisted Whisker is leading this challenge, and he is way out ahead of everybody else.
He is.
He's taking this one.
I like it.
Yeah.
Matt M. from Gaffney says North Texas over Memphis +12. Twisted Whisker, as you just said, Georgia Tech over Notre Dame +11. Beckham, Georgia Tech over Notre Dame -11. Pac Fan Shuff says betting with my heart, NC State over Cal +10.5. Pac Fan Shuff. Tiger, Pal, Rachel, Louisville over Miami at 5 points. I don't know, Tiger, Pal, Rachel. I don't know how that game's only a 5-point spread. Is Louisville that good? We're going to find out. And if Madcraft's Miami Hurricanes Diesel disappoint again, they're definitely a fraud. I mean, let's just.
I'm gonna go back and screenshot where Madcraft was talking trash to me in the last commercial break. And I'm going to have that. I'm going to have that ready to go, Madcraft. I'm going to have it ready to go. So I've looked at 3 games. I'm waffling back and forth, and I shouldn't waffle, Cole, because last week it cost me. Even though I love waffles, blueberry
pancakes
waffles
are better, by the way.
No, they're not.
Yes,
no.
they are.
What?
Yes, they are. They're way better.
Oh my God,
they're way better.
Now we need to put this on the 5 o'clock fight. What's better, pancakes or waffles?
They're better.
I'm looking at Notre Dame, Georgia Tech +11. I'm looking at UNLV at Oregon State +6. Oregon State's the home team there, 6-point dogs at home to UNLV with a second week starter at UNLV. And then I'm looking at Arizona State +5.5 at Cincinnati. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why Arizona State are dogs in this game. I can't figure that one out, but I was going to go with Arizona State last week, Cole, and I chose not to. I switched my pick at the last minute to Coastal Carolina James Madison because I got greedy.
Okay.
I got greedy. So I'm not going to do it again this week. I'm going to stay with the Arizona State Sun Devils plus 5.5 at Cincinnati. I'm picking against my old head coach, Scott Satterfield, and the Fighting Bearcats. I'm going Arizona State plus 5.5 at Cincinnati.
I don't hate that. You're right. It's not a big splash, but you have a good chance because it's only 5.5. While you're typing, I'll give you mine. And yes, I have mine on a Wednesday. NC State over Cal. Cal's favored by 10. I'm going for a 10-point game. NC State over Cal. NC State and Cal are both 0-3 in the ACC. They both suck. Somebody has to win. They both are I don't see this being a very good game, but I'm going with the Wolfpack over Cal on Saturday.
I don't see this as being a good football game.
No, it's not going to be. I mean, let's just call it like it is. Scotty from BMW chimes in. He says, give me FSU 3 points over Duke. Maize and Brew, Georgia plus 5 over Texas. Greenville Gamecock. Give me NC State over Cal plus 10. Greenville Gamecock, I'm with you. T-Ray.
Greenville Gamecock's doing well in this challenge, by the way.
He is. He really is.
So it's hard to pick against the guys who are doing well in this.
Dylan says, I'll pick Diesel plus 10 to beat those French fries. T-Ray says, French toast all the way.
Yeah.
Not a bad option.
Yeah.
Michael in Simpsonville says a good waffle and good pancakes are a push. So the question is, which one is better, a bad waffle versus a bad pancake? What is a bad pancake? A burnt pancake? Bad waffles burnt. I mean, you mean burnt waffle or burnt pancake?
Yeah,
I mean,
but a burnt waffle can become the bread of a sandwich
or a Frisbee. I mean, come on. That's not even a debate. We can't put that in the 5 o'clock. Ash and Five Forks, BC over Virginia Tech -7. Let's see here. Anatolia. I can't say Anatolia all of a sudden. Ayatollah. I mean, that's a hard name to say for a redneck like me. Give me Nebraska plus 6.5 to knock off Indiana. Pac Fan Shuff says Cole just jinxed us. Pac Fan Shuff, you might be right.
Cole has a history of that. Cole jinxed Amazon guy, and he hasn't hit on an upset pick since.
That's true. And you, Pac Fan Shuff, I'm sorry. I don't do it on purpose, but I got to pick
Cole
a game.
Bryson is the kiss of death.
Right. JC says, give me East Carolina plus 16 over Army. Notre Dame Nate wants NC State over Cal as well, plus 10.5. Do you not like did you look at the NC State Cal game or no interest there?
No interest there because I don't know what kind of shape NC State is in at quarterback. Yeah. Grayson McCall, took that nasty hit against Wake Forest. I didn't even bother to look it up to see if Grayson is planning on playing this weekend. Not that actually means a whole lot, right? Because even when he's out versus when he's in, he doesn't play particularly great. So I don't have any faith in NC State at the quarterback position at all.
I don't either. So I don't know why I'm picking him, but I don't have much faith at the quarterback. But Cal's not good. Yeah,
but Cal was up 28 on Miami in the fourth quarter.
Well, Miami's not good. Sorry, Matt. Sorry. Hard Knock says Arizona State over Cincinnati. Colorado. We can't get more than. What are we doing here?
Yeah, you got to pick first. Hard Knocks. Want to let you know that is an invalid pick. Hard Knocks because you put 2 picks in your.
You put 3.
Yeah, you put multiple picks in there. We need 1 pick. Okay, we need your name, your game, and the spread. So decide which one of those you want. Hard Knocks. Text it back into us 71307. Start your text with keyword fan and say Hard Knocks. If Arizona State over Cincinnati is the one that you want, give us that one and then give us the spread.
Tolo Steve says nothing beats a good waffle with melted butter, syrup, and powdered sugar. I've never had a waffle with powdered sugar.
Waffle House is better than IHOP. Are we going to even debate this?
It is, but no, you're right. It is, but it's not because of. You're right. It's not because of pancakes.
I think we just argue. I just argue with you into a corner.
When I go to Waffle House, I don't even get waffles 99% of the time.
Yeah, you do when you get the All-Star.
I hadn't the last 2 times though. I hadn't got the All-Star.
Yeah, no, you got to get a pecan waffle. Pecan waffle every time.
I don't get chocolate chip,
bro.
Chocolate chip.
Oh well, yeah, you can't go wrong with chocolate.
That's so good. God, you shouldn't. I hate when we bring up food, man. I hate it. It makes me. JD chimes in on his upset pick. There he is. JD will take Georgia Southern plus 9.5 over James Madison. That is I did look at that one, JD. It's an interesting pick. I don't know. James Madison, maybe Jekyll and Hyde, right? Maybe Jekyll and Hyde, JMU. Maybe that's what you're banking on. Georgia Southern's not bad.
Oh, Georgia Southern's a good football team this year. They're a 2-loss football team right now.
Wesley Roberts on the Facebook stream. Cole, this isn't golf. You need points. NC State question mark.
What's it going to be like sitting all the way down there with 4 points next week, Cole?
Stop. That's bad. I've got faith in NC State this week.
So this is the folly of what you're doing here, Cole. This is the folly of your logic. Now you're far down on this on the leaderboard, and now you feel like you have to go for the big ones every single week.
It sucks.
And see, now you're getting desperate.
Oh yeah,
now you're getting
I've been desperate for
reaching.
4 weeks now.
You're reaching. Texter says my fantasy league punishment is the 24-hour Waffle House challenge. You have to stay at a Waffle House for 24 hours. Every waffle you eat is one less hour.
I've seen that on
that sounds awesome.
TikTok. I've seen that.
That sounds like a fun challenge.
I think I could do it though.
Then again, like, would the staff let you? How are you going to? Because you're not going to beat the staff in a fight.
No,
because they know how to fight.
They're like part-time Waffle House staff, part-time bouncers. I mean, that's what they do. You have to be a bouncer to work at the WoHo.
Texter says I had 6.5 points in the challenge 3 weeks ago. I hit on Colorado and Vanderbilt, and now I'm at 33.5 points. It feels like an infomercial, Reed Atkins, where you're saying, I used to weigh, 300 pounds, and with just this little diet pill, I'm now down to a svelte 185.
What is he at now? 33?
33.5. He's hit on Colorado and Vandy 2 weeks in a row.
He's
killing it.
That was the move. Colorado, I missed out on that boat.
I mean, not that it really, it doesn't affect anything at all, but this is the season of upsets. This is the season of top 10 teams going down to teams they shouldn't be losing to. So I know that it shouldn't have any kind of an effect. And my fear, Cole, is the moment I start buying into that line of thought is when the mojo goes away.
What mojo? I don't have any mojo. The Oculus says I had my first cookie dough waffle from another Broken Egg Cafe last week. It's a game. Cookie dough waffle. I've never heard of that. Never heard of that. Cookie dough is just so, I don't know, man. That's rich. That might be too much sweetness with everybody.
Stop.
It might be.
Stop, Cole. Mr. There's no such thing as too sweet of tea. Now you're saying no to cookie dough waffles? Bro.
God.
We'll get this thing back on track. We'll talk some sports analytics
maybe
next with Kelley Ford. If you got questions about a team that you're considering in the Upset Picks Challenge, you can ask that question. Text it into us 71307 or hit us up on the stream on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Yeah, if you got waffles and pancakes questions, I'm sure Kelley would be happy to answer those as well. That's coming up next on the Fan Upstate. so many of you Tolos getting in your upset picks already, to the point we've already built up 39 Tolos. And we got Wesley Roberts in the stream says, I would pick the ECU game if I was in the challenge. Why haven't you picked that one? Why are you not in the challenge? Come on, man. What are you waiting for? It's fun. We go to the phone lines right now. Bring on, for the first time on the stream, Kelley Ford of K Ford Ratings, a part of the show in video, in Technicolor. Kelley, I'm going to ask you a big brain question to get started here, okay? It was a hotly debated question in the last segment of the show. What's better, waffles or pancakes?
Wow, you guys are hitting me with the important questions right away. So I'm, wow, that's really tough. I enjoy making pancakes. I really do. It's something easy, something I can make. The kids like it. But if we ever in a pinch, you just throw the waffle in the toaster. I think at the end of the day, I probably like a good, not a toaster, but a good waffle more than pancakes, even though I enjoy making pancakes more than waffles, if that makes sense.
Sorry, Cole. Power ratings. Excuse me. He doesn't do rankings. It does ratings. Power ratings. Waffles won. Pancakes two.
I'm upset. I'm very offended by that, Kelley. We appreciate you coming on the show. If a Tolo were to go on your website today, Kelley, for the very first time and look at your power ratings, they would ask the question: Week 8 power ratings, top 30. Ohio State 2, Oregon 8. But Oregon beat Ohio State on Saturday. Kelley, can you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And this happens every single year, and it happens with a ton of teams. I mean, you'll see Ole Miss, power rated number 5. That team has 2 losses right now. Power ratings react very differently than the public and then I would say, resume rankings. Because if you look at my most deserving page, you'll see Oregon, number 1 in the country, Ohio State, actually number 15. So those are 2 very different things. From a power rating standpoint, what we're looking for is based on these teams and their makeup, and that includes still to this day some preseason weight and components. Projecting forward, if these teams played again tomorrow on a neutral field, who would be expected to win? Who would be favored to win? And I think Josh Pate even got it. I mean, he has the partnership with FanDuel now, right? And he even had FanDuel confirm for him they would make Ohio State a 2.5-point favorite over Oregon if they played on a neutral field tomorrow. So, it's not unheard of, and I'll say it's not even wrong to have Ohio State power rated above Oregon right now. Yes, we just saw the game. Yes, Oregon just won. If you play that game, 10 times, Ohio State probably wins 5, maybe even 6 or 7 of those games. They didn't. They lost the one that mattered. Oregon gets the credit in the most deserving rankings. Ohio State not going to be punished a ton in the power ratings. They were downgraded 0.3 of a football point per game. Oregon, for their performance, upgraded almost a point, but certainly not enough to overcome that difference of a 2-point game in Eugene, where down to the very end could have gone the other way.
Kelley, in the spirit of double jeopardy, let's stay right there and re-adjudicate this Ole Miss LSU game. I'm looking at your power ratings, and Ole Miss, they dropped a considerable amount in the AP rankings, but they've stayed put at number 5 in your power ratings, whereas LSU jumped up 2 spots based on their performance in that overtime win at home against the Rebels. Who does that say more about, Ole Miss and their perceived quality despite 2 losses, or LSU's ability to go get a big home win?
I think it tells a story for both teams, and let's focus on the team that won the game, and that would be LSU. And you talk about, Kelley, you didn't bring them down, but the AP did. Agreed, and the AP should, and my most deserving did as well. Ole Miss was up in the top 25 in my most deserving. I think they were number 23 last week. They have now fallen to number 33 in my deservedness metric. But in terms of, again, you play that LSU Ole Miss game 10 times. LSU, guys, and I'm sure you know this, LSU did not lead in that game at all. The only time LSU led was there was 0 seconds on the clock after they score a touchdown in overtime. There was not a single second of game time play that LSU led in that game. So I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest that if you play that game a few more times, does LSU win a few of those? Would Ole Miss win a few? Ole Miss was downgraded more than a point in the model for their performance. LSU was upgraded about a point. But again, the difference from where they started to that change is not enough to overcome that differential. So LSU, to their credit, again, huge jump up up the most deserving rankings. They were number 20 last week. They are now up to number 9, my number 2 1-loss resume ranked team behind only Georgia in the 1-loss category.
Kelley, we were having a conversation earlier this week with some Clemson fans who are listeners of the show, and just comparing this Clemson team to, Clemson teams that have won the championship, obviously, to 2018, the most recent example. But what we were talking about was the way that Clemson was dominating their opponents, right? We have the conversation of what happened against Georgia, what they're doing now, and what this Clemson team will look like 2 months from now against another playoff team. By your metrics, does this Clemson team look different than they did in 2018, or is it pretty similar?
So I want to be careful here because, guys, for me, and I do have historical power ratings estimates for teams that go back to the very beginning of college football. We're talking 1869. Like, we're going all the way back here. Clemson in 2018, out of any team that's played college football at the highest level, for me, since 1869, Clemson comes out as like the number 2 power rated team in the 2018 version. So that's a historically all-time great college football team, not just for Clemson standards. I mean, for college football standards. So I don't think it's really fair to compare the 2018 team really to even the 2016 team that won a national championship. Certainly not this year's team either. However, what I will say is that this Clemson program, we've talked about it on this show before, from 2015 to 2020, never finished worse than number 5 in my power ratings. I mean, that's a long period of time to be power rated in the top 5 at the end of the year. Then 2021 comes and you're number 9. You're thinking, okay, maybe it's just weird post-COVID. What's going on? 2022 and you're number 10. Still really good, but the Clemson standard has been top 5. Then last year happened, and for all the losses, Clemson still finished number 19 in the power ratings. You came into this year at number 16. You're now up to number 10. And you guys might recall, I even said going into the Georgia game, don't take the results of the Georgia game too harshly, either good or bad. This team can recover from a bad performance and will certainly maintain a good performance. They have bounced back in a big way. They've been upgraded 4 points in the model since the preseason. This is my favorite to make the ACC championship game. I still do have Miami power rated ever so slightly ahead of Clemson. So I would favor Miami in that game. But right now, Clemson has the highest projected win total in ACC conference games of any team right now. So I certainly like what I'm seeing from Clemson. They've been really good on offense. Number 9, that's the best we've seen on Clemson from the offensive side of the ball since 2020. And the defense has bounced back after a little bit of a slow start. They're up to number 16, which by Clemson standards is not very good because that's how good they've been on that side of the ball, but still a really, really good team. Top 15, top 16 on both sides, number 10 nationally. I think this team is primed for a run into the postseason.
Kelley, JD asked the question on the stream. He said that you have South Carolina favored in 2 more of the remaining games, underdogs in 2 more of the remaining games. Where are the other 2? I mean, you got to think at this point that Vanderbilt game, which seemed like a very easy win for South Carolina, at least on paper at the beginning of the season. Well, that has been thrown out with the bathwater. It's a very different Vanderbilt team than what we thought they would be. What's your story there?
Some people, I'm going to talk about Vanderbilt for 1 second. I'll get to JD's question. Some people have given me some flack, if you guys can believe it, about Vanderbilt being power rated number 45. And I'm like, hold on now. We're talking about Vanderbilt here. Number 45, that's really good, should be celebrated. They're saying it's not high enough. Maybe it's not, but when you're a team that was, power rated in the 70s, 80s, 90s in recent years, it's going to take you a minute to climb up. Vanderbilt is number 23 in the most deserving rankings this week. So cracking the top 25, which is really impressive for a Vanderbilt team. South Carolina, and you can go to the website, k4ratings.com, go to the projections tab. You can see this is what I'm looking at right now. I do have South Carolina as a projected 1-score underdog in 2 remaining games, and it's the next 2 games. On the road at Oklahoma, projected to be 1 score. Then you're off week 9. Week 10 at home against Texas A&M, projected to be a 1-score underdog. Those are denoted with the yellow fill in the week column on the website. The next 2 games after that are the 2 that I'm projecting as 1-score favorites for South Carolina. That would be on the road at Vanderbilt, a team that by some I'm not showing enough respect to. And then how about this? At home against Missouri, a team that really got the doors kicked in against Texas A&M, but is looking to bounce back. And then your final 2 games, a big favorite at Wofford and a multi-score underdog on the road at Clemson as things project right now.
It's very interesting. I do want to go back to something that you just said, though, Kelley, talking about Vandy, where they were in recent years, where they are now. It taken some time for Vandy to climb those power rankings. For any new listeners out there, any new Tolos, does it take years for your formula, for your calculations to allow a team to be able to be boosted in the top 25, or is that a season-by-season situation?
Yeah, it's certainly season by season, and it's really week by week. But when we're talking about a program like Vanderbilt, and again, I saved this on the website under the preseason realistic expectations tab for accountability, for clarity, for whatever people want to see. So you can see what my numbers thought about Vanderbilt and all 134 FBS teams coming into the year. But one of the things I like about my preseason realistic expectation snapshot is it gives the 10-year history of the program over on the left as well. So if you look at Vanderbilt, coming into this year, I had them power rated number 85. So I had this as the best Vanderbilt team we have seen since they were number 49 in 2018. So I certainly expected Vanderbilt to be better this year than they've been in years past. But if you just look at Vanderbilt's recent history, 97 last year, 89 2 years ago, 117 in 2021, 121 in 2020. I mean, this program has been down, certainly, with Diego Pavia there, and things are going in the right direction. Clark Lee, head coach. I mean, they've got it rolling now in the right direction. And my model is continuing to upgrade them week over week, but you're not going to jump from the 80s to the top 25, even in the course of, 2 or 3 weeks. It takes a little bit of time. So the model's adjusting. It's accounting for Vanderbilt's recent surge. And if they keep playing this way, then it's not out of the realm of possibility they find themselves, in the top 30 of the power ratings by the end of the year.
Find his website, kfordratings.com. Look him up on Twitter and social medias at kfordratings. You're going to learn a lot every single time you go on his website. Don't look now, but the Florida Gators, Kelley, are inside your top 30 after that close game this past weekend. If you were advising the Florida AD, alumni associations, boosters, all the people that are a little twitchy, the ones that raised $28 million to fire Billy Napier midseason, how would you use the numbers to point them towards keeping Billy Napier?
So I'm looking quickly to pull this up here. And you said they're in the top 30 of my power ratings. They are, from a resume standpoint and the record they have, they are right now number 45 in the most deserving. So I'm not suggesting that this team should be ranked in an AP poll or anything like that. But I am suggesting that this team, from a power rating standpoint, is still pretty darn good. So right now, and I'm pulling up the realistic expectations from the preseason for this team as well. Right now, if you look at this team, number 29 overall, 24 on offense, 47 on defense. Compare that to the recent history. So Billy Napier gets hired, I think 2021 was his first year, or 2022, one of those years. This team was number 31 in the power ratings in 21, 30 in 22, 36 last year. Now they're number 29. I think this team is getting better under Billy Napier. He's certainly made some questionable in-game decisions throughout the course of his tenure, and that's a separate conversation. But if you look at the overall health of the program, I would suggest that they're trending in the right direction. And I talked about this in the preseason. They play the most difficult schedule in the country. So if you were expecting this team to win 8, 9, 10 games this year, I would have said, hold on, I'm not sure that's realistic, even though this team is projected as a top 25 or a top 30 power rated team. They are 3-3 as things stand. You look at the upcoming schedule, they're a one-score favorite for me at home against Kentucky. They are a one-score favorite on the road at Florida State at the end of the year. That's how bad Florida State certainly has been this year. But then everything in between is projecting as an underdog. So I still think, 6 wins would be really respectable against the schedule. I'm not sure the patience is there, but I would challenge the athletic director, the boosters, to really look carefully at the talent of this program, how it's grown under Billy Napier, and then just how difficult the schedule has been year in and year out, really since he got there. This year is certainly no exception, and this might be the hardest year of all. So I know 6-6 is not good enough for Florida. I understand, but the schedule has been so tough, guys. I wouldn't pull the plug just yet if I was down there running the show.
We're talking to Kelley Ford of kfordratings.com. If you haven't checked his site out yet, I encourage you to do so. A ton of really good information. What signs, Kelley, should we look for on kfordratings.com over the next year, 2 years, or 3 years that tell us that the Alabama dynasty might be over?
Yeah, that's a fair question. And I think the first place where you're going to want to start is going to the projections tab and then going to Alabama's team sheet. And that's what I'm doing right now, just to see what Alabama's currently rating as. I'm not ready to say it's over just yet. I know they lost to Vanderbilt, which is like sky is falling in Tuscaloosa. I get it. Then the South Carolina game was very, very dicey, and you don't want to see that either as an Alabama fan. I now have them as a slight underdog on the road at Tennessee. But if you look at the profile of this team, from a power rating standpoint, they're still number 3. The offense, believe it or not, guys, is still the number 2 unit in the country by my numbers. It's the defense that's really struggled. They're at number 18 right now. So really struggled is a relative term based on the Alabama dynasty that we've seen for the last 15, 20 years under Nick Saban. But Kalen DeBoer, is not necessarily going to be the defensive mastermind that Nick Saban was. So you can expect some regression on that side. Maybe the offense needs to pick up that slack, and so far they have. So if you want to see how is this program declining, look at the Alabama tab, look at their team projection sheet, and you can see, from the preseason to now, they have actually been upgraded about a point. The last month has not been good. They had a big surge early on. They've fallen off in the last month. Really, the last 2 weeks, nobody's been downgraded more than Alabama. But this is a program that really throughout the CFP era has never finished lower than number 5 in the power ratings. It's not reasonable to expect that level of elite consistency from anybody. Nick Saban is the GOAT. He's the outlier. Like, we shouldn't expect that replication, but I still think Alabama's stocked with talent. Kalen DeBoer's went everywhere he's been. So I'm not ready to pull the rug on Napier. I'm certainly not ready to pull the rug on DeBoer, even though the last 2 weeks haven't been what Alabama fans are expecting.
Kelley, some fascinating news that we had come out just this past week about the SEC and the Big Ten potentially looking at some sort of a mid-season challenge where they may flex some games and play an SEC team against a Big Ten team at the midpoint of the season. Still don't know what their plan might be for that, if it's going to be, randomized and have them play each other, or if it's going to be 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, and on down the line. And this is maybe a big picture question, not maybe something that your ratings can tell us, but who do you think comes out ahead in those matchups, and who's kind of looking at that and saying, that was kind of a bad idea. We're getting our butts kicked in this challenge.
Yeah, so it certainly depends on how they're going to structure it, right? Is it going to be the 1 versus 1? Is it going to be, hey, top SEC team, you get a middle of the pack Big Ten team, and vice versa? So I do think from a top to bottom, the SEC is certainly the stronger of the two conferences. In any given year, and all you have to do is look at the power ratings right now, in any given year, the Big Ten can compete at the top. The SEC is deeper, and it probably has more depth in terms of elite teams. I mean, the Big Ten, you're talking about Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and the SEC, you can talk about Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, maybe even A&M, LSU, right? So the SEC is certainly the better conference and has been the better conference over the course of the last 10, 15 years. I don't expect that to change. I do think that this flex scheduling idea, it's intriguing from the standpoint of, can you get some of your at-large contenders a chance to boost their resume against a good opponent, right? A quality opponent. So it's intriguing. I actually, working in college athletics, I do have a little bit of behind-the-scenes knowledge on the workings of potential alliance there and what that means. So
come on, give us a bombshell. Come on.
Unfortunately, I'm not at the level of knowledge that I'd be able to, or certainly willing to give you that at this point. But it's intriguing. I also, though, just as a college football fan, I mean, take everything else away, I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess, that this can be a positive for the sport as a whole. I really don't want to see a Power 2 breakaway or a super league of 70 teams. I really don't want to see that. I fear that's where we're heading. I think that's bad for the sport as a whole. Perhaps it's good for those 70 programs, maybe, and maybe that iteration of college football ends up being something that we all enjoy. But so much change has happened, so much destructive change, I would say, in recent years. I'm just very cautious of any overarching changes that might be coming, such as this scheduling alliance.
Kelley, great stuff as always, man. We appreciate you hopping on with us, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Kelley Ford, K Ford Ratings, the absolute best. KFordRatings.com. That's the way you can be up to date on all of these ratings. I know it's a lot. It's a mouthful. It can be a headache, but Kelley's the absolute best.
And, some of these websites, Cole, they're pushing a lot of their analytics behind paywalls that you have to be. For example, ESPN.com used to be able to get a lot of great analytics from ESPN.com, points per game, yards against the rush, passing yard, all that. Now that stuff's pushed behind a paywall.
Pay to play,
and
right?
If you're not gambling through their service, you can't get that information. But KFordRatings.com is a fantastic resource to use, whether you're betting or whether you're just using it to play along in the Upset Picks Challenge.
Texter from the 903. I'm sure you guys know, but I'm curious what percentage of listeners has increased to since the new show. I went from turn off, leave off to turn on, leave on. Great show. We appreciate you. Whoever you are, we appreciate you being a part of it. Don't be the dumbest guy tonight at home when talking about sports or on the phone with your buddies. Be the smartest guy. You can be the smartest guy by listening to the Daily Wires next. We'll get to a few daily wires if we have time, but most importantly today, it's Upset Pick Day.
Yeah.
Time for you to get your upset pick in. If you haven't done so already, you can do so. 71307. Need your name, your game, and the spread. That's how you enter the challenge. If you haven't entered yet, you better do it because it's the best.
Cole, we're almost halfway to our highest number of picks.
We're going to get more this week.
I think so. I
We're
think
gonna
we're going to break that 112 mark. I really do.
Yeah, 100%. There's Mike Main, John Dog. We see you. Let's go to the phones. The renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone, where you can get your upset pick in. 844 fan phone, 844-3263-663. Billy Horn. What's up, Billy?
Not much, fellas. How y'all doing today?
Good, man.
Good.
I'm calling in. I'm going to take UCF plus 14 as long as they keep giving the ball to RJ Harvey and let him rush. I think they can upset the Cyclones this week.
Ooh, UCF.
That'd be a big upset, man, over Iowa, right?
In a big Iowa State in a
Iowa
Big
State,
12
sorry.
matchup.
Ooh.
Wow.
Well, I like what you said yesterday to me, Diesel. It doesn't hurt me if I lose 1 point and don't get a win this week. If I want to catch up with the 5 people in front of me, I need to go big.
There you go.
I'm taking your advice, Diesel.
Yeah.
Diesel, we're going to go big with UCF this weekend, 14.
Billy,
Wow.
best of luck to you. I don't know. I know our guy DB does a fantastic job organizing all this stuff. You've hit 3 weeks in a row, correct?
Yes, sir.
I don't know what the streak is for how many Tolos have hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row. What the longest win streak is. That'd be a fascinating statistic to see if Dan B could pull.
I think Dan's watching the show right now on the stream, and I wonder if Dan can pull that information.
We'll have to bump
for
his
us.
pay to do that.
Yeah. We
Bump
actually
his
have
pay.
to start paying.
And Billy will start paying him. Billy, you're the best. Appreciate you, and good luck to you this week.
You boys have a good rest of the show.
Thanks, Billy.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, that's true, man.
What's the longest win streak?
I can't believe I just gave away that little tidbit of secret there. He now gets to go big.
Yeah.
And if he gets it wrong, he only loses a point.
But that's what
But
you
if he goes
earn.
big and he hits, he could get like 14, 15 points. And where's Billy Horn right now? Billy Horn, I'm going to pull up. I feel like Kelley Ford a little bit when I'm pulling up this graphic here. Billy Horn has 34.5 points. Doing the math here, he hits that. He's at 48.5 points. And depending on what happens above him, Billy Horn could push himself into third place.
Quick question. Where will I be next week when I hit for 10 points this week? Don't laugh. Don't you laugh. Don't you laugh over there.
You'll have 15 points.
And I'll be what? 40th, 50th?
You would be in, let's see here, doing the math
Roughly.
here. So you're 16.
I know I'm putting you on the spot here. What's your Kelley Ford?
You'd be somewhere in the range, Cole, of you'd be in the top 50. Yeah, you'd be in the top 50 because
Top 50?
Sherb has 16. Matt M has 16. And then it drops to Wesley Roberts with 15.5, Shane Barrett, myself, and JD with 15 points each. So you could jump me with a 10-point hit this week.
But I thought I'd be higher than that. Top 50. I mean, what good is that?
Well, right now you're somewhere around like 80th. So you jump from 80th to 50th. That's pretty good.
That's a big jump. I know, but it's not good enough for me. It's not good enough. I want to be at the top. This thing's so challenging, man.
Madcraft throwing shade
what do you
here.
say?
He says, I'm sure our graphic is a lot less mathematical.
We have to cater to our listeners.
Yeah, exactly. We have to dumb it down like Tom Brady said. We got to dumb it down to make it easier. Make it easier for the rookies.
DB says running errands, but we'll look into that. DB, I don't mean to create extra work for you. I was just curious because Billy Horn's now hit. This would be 4 weeks in a row if he hit. Diesel, is that right?
That's got to be close. I mean,
that's
Amazon guy was on a heater for the first like 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah. That's a really interesting question. I can't think it's been more than 4. No, nobody's hit 5 weeks in a row. Not this year.
I don't know. I don't know.
That would blow me away if that's happened. When we come back, Cole, it is time for us to bring back an oldie but a goodie, the 5 o'clock fight, where you and I duke it out to see who's wrong and who's right. That's coming up next. A lot of Tolos still getting in their upset picks. Keep them coming to us. 71307 is the text line. Start your text with the keyword fan. We ask you to do that because we share a text line with our sister station, WORD 98.9. And if you put the word fan on it, we can filter it down to where we only see messages meant for us. Give us your name, your game, and the spread. Roger Carper gets his in. He says he wants NC State plus 10 over Cal. Roger, we've reached back out about what happened last week, so we do have you taken care of where that's concerned, Roger. So go look at the new graphic. It's up on the Fan Upstate on Twitter. It's time right now, Cole, for you and I to throw some punches, some jabs, some hooks, some roundhouses, some uppercuts. It's time for the 5 o'clock fight.
It's an all-out slugfest, and nobody's leaving unscathed. 3 topics, 1 winner. It's the 5 o'clock fight on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
And here's how this works. We take 3 different topics, sometimes sports, sometimes life. We have to disagree about it. Cole and I fight it out. You Tolos decide who wins each argument, who has the most compelling argument. You let us know by texting in 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. Tell us who wins each round of the 5 o'clock fight. Let's get right into round number 1. This is a hard one, Cole, considering how this season has gone and changed for both of these football teams. Who gets canned first, Billy Napier or Sam Pittman?
It's a very tough one. It's a very tough question. We went into the season talking about Billy Napier Diesel possibly getting canned during the season.
Yeah, we thought it might happen after the Miami game.
Sure. How bad would that have been? And Sam Pittman, from the very get-go, it looked as if, there was no way Sam Pittman would be coaching Arkansas again. I asked Chris Phillips about it 2 or 3 times, and then Sam Pittman, Arkansas, they just keep hacking away. They beat Tennessee. It's kind of turned. The narratives have turned in a way. I still think Billy Napier gets fired first. I really do. I think Billy Napier, at the end of the season, despite the board and despite big boosters maybe having a soft spot still for Billy Napier, I still think Florida wants change, and I think Billy Napier gets fired first. Sam Pittman, in my opinion, the win over Tennessee will take him a long way. It may not give him a new contract or anything that far out. However, I'll go Billy Napier getting fired before Papa Sam.
So Arkansas has won 4 games this year. They're 4-2, but they're not winning any of those games convincingly. They're doing just enough to get the dub outside of the Arkansas Pine Bluff game. But they beat Tennessee by 5. They lost in a 1-possession game to A&M.
Yeah.
10-point game win against Auburn. 10-point win against UAB. This is a team, Cole, that's playing with fire. And I don't think this week is the week where they're going to put that flame out. I think they're going to get burned by LSU. They play LSU on Saturday night, and then they go on the road to Mississippi State. I could see that, Cole, as a game where these Arkansas Razorbacks mess up and lose a game that they absolutely should not lose. This Arkansas team is better than this Mississippi State team. And then, oh, by the way, after that, they have Ole Miss and Texas, both of them at home. So they got that going for them. But Sam Pittman has been under this gun for so long, Cole, that I think eventually the AD and the staff over there are just going to say enough is enough.
Yeah.
This isn't going to get considerably better. Sam Pittman is not the guy to take us to the next level. He's done okay this year, but ultimately he is not the right guy long-term. Let's go ahead and cut bait and move on. From
Diesel,
Sam.
Does it surprise you when you talk about LSU Arkansas this weekend? Does it surprise you that LSU's only favored by 2.5 points?
It does. It does.
Doesn't it
the
feel
game
like it
is
should be like 7?
It
7.5?
feels like it should be a lot more.
Yeah, 2.5?
It's an odd one.
Look, I know sometimes Vegas has these trap games, but the dumb, degenerate gambler Cole is going to hammer LSU. I mean, 2, that's basically a pick 'em. It's basically a pick 'em. I don't know why it's only 2.5.
Shout out to Big Dom for the very first time gets his upset pick in. Appreciate that. He's taking UT over Bama for 3 points this week. Let's go with round number 2, Cole.
Round 2, fight.
Cole, you can't put any money on these games, and you can only watch one of them. What are you going to watch Thursday night? Dodgers Mets NLCS Game 4, or a game that really shouldn't matter to anyone around here, Boston College, Virginia Tech.
It may surprise you. But tomorrow, as I told you in the very first segment of the show, I do have interest in Dodgers Mets. Look, of course, BC, Virginia Tech, I know the rules, the stipulations here are there's no – gambling's illegal, by the way. Anyone who gambles, you should go to jail.
I know what you're saying. Illegal.
But to answer your question, Diesel, I'm going to watch Dodgers Mets tomorrow night because, number one, that championship series moves the meter a lot more than the ALCS. I really, really want a Subway Series in the World Series. The Dodgers are a fantastic team. They looked really good in Game 1. The Mets looked really good in Game 2. The pitching is kind of even for Game 3. I think this game could be an all-time classic. I'm telling you, this series has been good. And I think you're going to see – I know there were lopsided scores early in the series. But I think you're going to see this series really tighten up as we go through the starting pitching. I'm going to be all eyes on Dodgers Mets tomorrow night, just wishing that it was the Atlanta Braves.
Cole, this is very simple. Football, greater than simple. Football is better than everything. I would sit and watch high school football over the NLCS. I really would.
Well, now you're talking. You're talking.
I would watch a replay of Troy, South Alabama, when I know South Alabama already won the football game over the NLCS. So it's very easy, Cole. I choose football over baseball. It doesn't matter that this is an NLCS game. I'm one of those fans that wakes up at the World Series. I start paying attention to the World Series, and then I'm watching every single pitch. But until we get there, I'm not really all that interested. Give me BC over Virginia, BC Virginia Tech.
Should be a good game,
as the game that I will be watching tomorrow. All right, here we go with round number 3.
Final round, fight.
South Carolina faces 3 more ranked teams this year, Cole. Number 14, A&M. Number 19, Missouri. And at number 10, Clemson. Over under the number of upsets South Carolina will pull against those 3 ranked teams. I'm setting the over under at 0.5.
I got to answer this?
Yeah,
I have to answer 0.5.
0.5.
I'm going over.
You going over?
I'm going over.
Okay.
Yeah, look, here's the deal. I think South Carolina, they're a good team. They've had some really tough games against LSU and Alabama. I think South Carolina beats Missouri or A&M. It would not shock me if they beat both Missouri and A&M. I believe South Carolina looks at the rest of these games as winnable games. Why? Well, quite frankly, every game this season has been winnable for South Carolina, and they have not been able to say that in a very long time. Yeah, you throw Ole Miss out of the equation. Okay, that's one game. I think they do get an upset, and it might be both A&M and Missouri. I don't know that it's Clemson. At Clemson, I think Cade Klubnik will be ready for that game. He's playing much better than he was this time last year. So I'll go over 0.5 for a number of upsets the Gamecocks will pull in the 2024 season.
Gamecock fans, if you're going to come to the studio and throw anything at the windows, throw it at the one that's got Rob and Lonzo's face on it. The rules are I have to argue the opposite side of this argument. South Carolina's not going to get an upset through the remainder of this season. Texas A&M is way better than we originally thought they were going to be, right? I mean, they were starting preseason number 25, and I thought South Carolina was going to win that football game when Texas A&M was a number 25 football team. But A&M has really impressed and come up in a big way. So I think A&M is going to get you. Missouri can still score a ton of points. And I don't know that you have the Hogs offensively to be able to stay with a team like Missouri that can put up the number of points that they do. And then Clemson is just a more complete football team than you are. I think your defense is certainly better than Clemson's defense, not by a lot, but I think it's better than Clemson's defense. But again, I don't think you have the Hogs to stay with Cade Klubnik and the 500 yards of offense he's been putting up consistently all season long.
I'll tell you this. It's funny how the narrative has changed, Diesel, because if you asked me right now of those three teams to pick one of those that the Gamecocks could pull the upset, I'd pick Missouri. However, at the beginning of the season, I would not have picked Missouri. I would have probably picked A&M at the beginning of the season. As you said, A&M's a little bit better than we thought. Missouri, in my opinion, Missouri's not as good. They haven't really looked as good as I thought they would, even with that softer schedule than most SEC teams have. I would still say they're going to get 1 over 0.5. I think they do beat Missouri.
There you go. To recap, round number 1, who gets canned first? Billy Napier or Sam Pittman? Cole's going Napier at Florida. I'm going Sam Pittman at Arkansas. Round 2, you can't put any money on the game, you degenerate gambler, but you can only watch one of them. Which one are you going to watch tomorrow night? Dodgers, Mets, NLCS Game 4, or Boston College, Virginia Tech? Cole's going baseball. I'm going football, baby. It's king in these parts. And round number 3, how many upsets will South Carolina pull against the remaining ranked teams on their schedule? Over under 0.5. Cole's taking the over. I have to take the under. I don't think they get an upset down the stretch. What do you think? Who wins each round of the 5 o'clock fight? Start texting in. We'll tell you how in just a second.
What do you want Diesel and Cole Bryson to fight about next?
If you've got an ass, I'll kick it.
Submit your topics to Diesel at thefanupstate.com. Subject line, fight on the Fan Upstate.
Madcraft says setting the over-under at 0.5 is hysterical.
Why? Why, Madcraft?
It makes it a compelling argument, Madcraft.
It's got to be compelling.
To get your votes in, you can text in 71307. Start your text with keyword fan, and then tell us who wins each round of the 5 o'clock fight. You can also message it in on the stream on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. We're streaming live. You can see both of our faces right there. You can tell us who wins each round of the fight there.
And when you do text in, make sure you put round 1 Cole, round 2.
No. Vote with your head, not with your heart.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Y'all need to be fired.
Oh, gosh.
Madcraft says Cole wins round 1 and 2. Diesel wins round 3. I don't like.
Thank you, Madcraft.
Madcraft, you're making this personal. I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate it. I've been using you as a punching bag all week, and now you're taking it out on me. That's not cool.
Tolo Steve ends his text with OH, but begins his text.
Oh no.
With round 1 Cole, round 2 Diesel. Football is always better, but round 3 Cole. Tough loss Saturday night, but OH. You want to finish it? No. You have 2 lines. You'll have 2 lines out the door. Texter says, Cole, you mentioned the spread about LSU Arkansas. I'm very shocked by the Gamecock Oklahoma spread. And by the way, DB will have to tell me, Diesel, what the line was locked in at for Gamecock Sooners. You realize that line opened at 3.5 points and is now at 1.5.
Yeah.
That moved 2 points?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a lot of
how much money has come in on the South Carolina Gamecocks this week.
I don't know why. There's been no injuries that I know of.
That's one of the ones that scares me a little bit. Now that this thing is it's gonna be moving
close
towards
to
a pick 'em.
Yeah.
Mike Main says round 1 goes to Cole, round 2 goes to Diesel, round 3 goes to Cole.
Thank you, Mike Main.
CJ from Greer says Cole gets the sweep. What's up with this? Jersey Joe says Jersey Joe declares a split decision. Jersey Joe, there are no split decisions.
This isn't soccer. This is a real sport.
Yeah, we don't tie in this game. Texter says, "Come on, Diesel." Okay, what did I do? Let's see. JD says round 1 Cole, round 2 Diesel, because nobody wants the Subway Series down here. Heck, I don't even want Dodgers Yankees, and VT is my wife's team. And the winner is Cole for being nice to my Gamecocks. Oh, Come on, Cole, you shill.
Let's go.
You shill.
I've got the Gamecock fans on my side for once.
Wesley Roberts says on the stream, says Cole, a Diesel, even though Diesel is throwing random shots at me.
Let's see.
Wesley, I apologize.
He did apologize.
I apologize.
497 says Cole with the sweep. So I got the win there. Hey, look, I'm going to take these wins. Today. It doesn't happen often. Okay, it doesn't happen often. You can continue, by the way, to get your Upset Picks Challenge in. Want to remind you that the Upset Pick Challenge is brought to you by Ingles Markets, the absolute best. Diesel's going to tell you about Ingles in a few minutes, but Diesel, I believe it's time to do a little giveaway. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Here is your chance. If you're caller number 5 at 844-326-3663, you could win a 4-pack of tickets to go see live football in Travelers Rest this weekend. Yeah, you got the Western Carolina Catamounts coming into Travelers Rest to face the Furman Paladins, 2:00 kick. You want 4 tickets to that game? Be caller number 5 at 844-326-3663.
Congratulations to Rick and Greer for being the 5th caller and winning the tickets to the Furman game. Congratulations. Rick, I offered you, because Rick, anytime you call, we get a lot of feedback. I offered a victory speech. I don't know if I lost you, if it was on my end, but the offer's still open. I mean, our Tolos love you, Rick. If you want a victory speech on your win today, you can give it 844-FAN phone.
Well, when I was getting his information from him, Cole, he said, I'm going to give you this number because I don't want to give you my private line. I said, is that the line you use for your son's pole dancing classes at the local ice cream parlor?
What did he say?
He said, yeah.
And that's, by the way, that business popped up because the cockroach racing got shut down.
Yeah.
Evidently. That's allegedly that it got
pole dancing and double scoops.
We're not going to make a promo of the pole dancing and ice cream because we don't want to get that business shut down as well. So the police in Spartanburg and Greenville County can hear about it and go shut Rick down. Supposedly it was our fault.
I think they just called the business Scoops. Shout out to the couple of new Tolos. We have Big Dom, brand new to the challenge. Hard Knocks, new to the challenge. Dakota, new.
Let's go.
We have so many Tolos who are getting into this thing for the first time.
I called it, man. I said I wanted the best one yet this week. We've got to break the record. We are going to break it. I'm telling you, we're going to do it.
51 picks in already. 51 picks in already. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and text it to us, 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. And if you don't know what it is we're talking about when we say the Upset Picks Challenge, just wait. We'll explain it to you again.
And this will be about a 10-minute segment, a little shorter because we do have Chris Phillips coming up in the very next segment. Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. What did Dabo Swinney say in his Tuesday presser? Diesel, I have 4 clips of audio, and I want to complain before I get to the audio. Can I complain? Do I have the floor?
In the words of Rick, I'm mad.
I'm mad. I can't do it as good as he does. I want to complain because I wasted time today, minutes that I'll never get back. I'm not calling anybody out personally here because that would be unprofessional. However, I'll tell you this, man. Clemson's schedule has gotten so soft. The media in these Tuesday pressers, they have no idea what to ask. They have no idea what to ask. I mean, these questions, the answers.
Because they know they're not going to get an answer. They're going to get a complete nothing burger from Dabo.
What do you ask? Oh, how is this game against Virginia going to challenge you? I mean, I have 4 clips of audio, and I'm not saying it's bad audio. It's good answers. There's some intriguing questions, but the media, I mean, it's surface level questions right now. I mean, Clemson's kicking everybody's rear end. It's almost like they're sitting there in this room, Diesel, thinking, what do we ask Dabo? I mean, they're asking questions about 2025. They're asking what color is underwear. I mean, it's unbelievable. Ask some better questions, guys. Somebody, please, because I have some cuts of audio that just simply I had to stretch. I had to find some good answers today because I couldn't find many. Clemson media, do better. Tom wants to chime in first, though, before we get to Dabo Swinney audio. Tom always comes before Dabo Swinney, right? I'm sure Tom's going to be passionate today. Whatever's on Tom's mind. What's up, Tom?
Oh, that's a pleasure to be before Dabo. But I'll say this. Yesterday, Tolo Johnny called in, and he had some false allegations. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Completely false. He's just mad because he's like the Cowboys. They do great in the regular season and then lose when it counts. But I've been busy this week. But the reason I called, guys, I got an honest question. Is it – and I'm not trying to be biased or, overly confident like I normally am. But I'll say this. Is this game Saturday for Beamer – is it not one of his most important games? Like, honest question. Like, because as a program, if you want to, get over that mediocre hump, so to speak, you have a chance to go into Oklahoma and beat a below-average Oklahoma team. And, if he loses,
where does the mentality go? Where does the mindset of the fan base go? And in my opinion, it's a game that you should win. And I just wanted y'all's take on that.
Yeah.
Is it a game where people start to really turn if, say, the offense looks like they did against Ole Miss and it's just a bad day?
Well,
I just wanted to get y'all's opinion on that.
Yeah, Tom, appreciate that. Appreciate the call. If you beat Oklahoma, you're beating the helmet, right? You'll get credit, even though it's a mediocre Oklahoma team. Number one, you have the opportunity to kick a Tiger's ass, a former Tiger, if you want to look at that. Tom, I'm surprised Tom didn't say anything about that. But you'll get credit for beating a program with mystique, right? So you're beating the helmet. But if you lose, the conversation is you just lost to a mediocre Oklahoma team. Yeah. So this is a must win for Shane Beamer. This is a must win for Beamer because the schedule is still very tough down the stretch. 3 more ranked teams to go on the schedule in Wofford. And if you were to end this season, Cole, with dropping 4 out of the last 5 and the only win being against Wofford,
yeah,
that's when the narrative, you're right, Tom, does definitely shift on this team. Even though Shane Beamer has had moments, even though Shane Beamer has come close, it's kind of the same conversation that we've been having about Billy Napier. Billy's come close in games this year, and he's shown the quality of his team and the quality of his roster. And Beamer has done the same thing. He's shown the quality of his roster. But eventually, coaching is what gets you over the hump, and winning games is what you're paid for. You're not paid to come close. Yeah, you're paid to win.
I'm with you. No pushback there. It's a big one. There's no doubt. It's a big one. He needs it. To me, it's kind of like they have their backs against the wall a little bit. I think they're going to come out and win. I really do. All right, Dabo Swinney audio. We heard from Shane Beamer yesterday. Here's what Dabo said in his opener talking about the Virginia Cavaliers.
Virginia's a good football team. I'm really impressed with the job that Tony has done and his staff because, obviously I've been trying to keep up with them since he got up there from where the program was when he got there to where it is now. I mean, it's really impressive what he's been able to instill. You see it, especially from a coach's eye watching it. I see, and you saw it last year. I mean, they had I think they had like 4 games that came down to a play last year. And I just started to see what he's trying to instill in the team, show up. And I called and reached out to him several times last year, because it's frustrating when you don't get the results, but you could see it. And then this year, man, they've taken another step. I mean, this is a good football team, really good football, well coached. And, they've got really good schemes on both sides of the ball. But the biggest compliment that you can give any team and any coach is all 3 phases. They play very physical, they play hard, and they play fast in all 3 areas. So it doesn't matter what the score is. It doesn't matter if it's the first play or the fourth quarter. You see that consistency in their effort, and so this is a really, really tough-minded group, and that comes from what Tony and his staff has been able to build and recruit and develop and nurture as they build their culture there.
There is nothing more boring in life than a Dabo Swinney press conference midweek against an ACC team. There's not. I'm sorry. Yeah. And that's not a shot at Dabo. That his opening statement, Diesel, was 12 and a half minutes today. 12 and a half minutes for an opening freaking statement against Virginia. I mean, there's nothing more boring. I'd rather watch Rick's cockroach racing, paint dry, you name it. I cannot stand to hear these mediocre questions, these 12 and a half minute opening statements about how good Virginia is, and then you're gonna go beat them by 76 points. I wish teams and coaches would just call it like it is and say, look, Virginia's no good. We're going to go out there and we're going to whip their butt.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope not that you would probably keep your access for long, or not that you would be called on the next time you came down to a press conference. But what if you went in there on Tuesday and said, hey, Dabo, you talked up this team like they were world beaters, and then you went out there and you beat them by 40 points. Like,
winning's hard, man. Winning's hard.
Winning's hard. Winning's hard.
Winning's hard.
Guys, just,
winning's hard.
The fun is in the process, guys.
Hard.
We we really thought they were a challenging football team and some of the things that they did. And, our guys are just better on Saturday.
And again, I'm not criticizing Dabo. I would probably struggle as well if I had to go out there and pretend like Wake Forest and all, this is a good team. They're a really good team. Really good. So it's tough. It's tough. I understand. Here's also talking about CJ Spiller. He's being inducted in the Ring of Honor. Here is a question to Dabo about what CJ's recruitment would have been like, which I liked, by the way, in today's landscape of college football.
CJ, obviously, maybe the biggest recruit in Clemson history, and you had your little contract on the business card. I'm just wondering if you were to imagine what that recruitment would be like in 2024 with NIL and all that. Would y'all be able to pull him out of there like that the way you did in 2000?
I don't know. CJ's a unique guy. He's a who knows. There's all kind of hypotheticals you could create in your mind, but CJ's, I think, was born to come to Clemson. And I think what God wants is ain't nothing gonna stop it. So just what I think about it, there could be anybody's recruitment going back, but where we are, moving forward, absolutely. Maybe the last 2 or 3 years, might have been more of a challenge where you're just kind of at the mercy of trying to raise NIL money, which is hard. But when you get into the revenue share, and that's a game changer. It's not going to be different for us. It is anybody else.
We had a conversation yesterday. Was it yesterday about the 2025 quarterback at Clemson?
Yep.
I think it was.
Yeah.
There was a question asked about the exact conversation that you and I had about the 2025 quarterback to Dabo Swinney today as well.
Do you think you need a quarterback in 2025?
We love the 3 quarterbacks we have. They're pretty good. Very few people have 3 quarterbacks they can win with. You got 3 quarterbacks today that you can win with, you're in pretty good shape. So, yeah, we definitely – and then we've got a good, PWO in here, Ethan Anderson, that's been here all year too, that we signed last year. It's a pretty good player. But, yeah, we try to get a quarterback every year. It's what we didn't take one in 24 because that was our plan with CV. That was just executing the plan that we put in place. That's part of how we got him. We beat a lot of people to get CV. And that was part of he was 17, and we're like, hey, here's kind of the plan, and it's kind of working out really good. And he's a very good player and going to be really good, I think. And Trent's a really good player. And so we've got 3 guys that we think we can go play with. And again, very few – our national championship team in 18 didn't have 3. We had 2. The third guy was Hunter Renfrow, and I love Hunter Renfrow, but he wasn't a very good quarterback. We wouldn't have won the national championship with him. So we've got 3 good quarterbacks that really love Clemson, align with Clemson. Everybody wanted me to fire Klubnik last year, get rid of him, go get somebody. He's pretty good. He's going to be a good player. He's back. Got CV's going to be a redshirt sophomore. Trent's in a good spot, but we'd love to get a guy. We will.
Did he just accidentally say that Klubnik was for sure returning? Klubnik, he's back. Vecina, does he say that? He's
Interesting.
Back? I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know if anybody else caught that, but I sure did, Diesel.
I do appreciate. I know it's hindsight and joking at the same time, but I do appreciate Dabo having a real answer there. Yeah, we wouldn't have won the national championship game with Hunter Renfrow playing quarterback. We're going to go talk some SEC football when we come back with Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. If you got big questions, burning things that you got to know about in the Southeastern Conference, now would be a great time to text us at 71307. We'll ask Chris your questions coming up next on the Fan Upstate. Go back to the phone lines, the guest lines. We bring on Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered. And for the first time, I think this is the first time Chris has been on the live stream with us as well. It's fantastic, Chris. You're number one, you're being welcomed on campuses all across the SEC. You've been to some phenomenal football games this year, but you also happen to be there for all the upsets. I just wonder, have any fan bases gotten into your DMs and notifications jokingly asking you not to come because everywhere you go, fields get rushed?
They do indeed. Diesel Cole, by the way, this is definitely the first time because I was sitting here thinking this feels different seeing you guys doing this. So this is this is the first. Really cool though. And again, appreciate y'all having me. So it's funny. After the LSU Ole Miss game, I called a buddy of mine up, or maybe he called me. I forget exactly, but he's a huge Alabama fan, and he was begging me not to go to Knoxville this upcoming weekend. I was like, I'm really sorry what I have to do to your team, I suppose. But I've also had, we do our daily live show now with the Texas Sports Unfiltered guys. We have our SEC Unfiltered hour over there daily, and they've been asking me which game I'm coming to, and they've been kind of anxious. I think especially thinking about the possibility that we could end up in Nashville next week when Vanderbilt and Texas play each other, especially if the trend continues this weekend going into next. So, no, it's been a lot of fun, man. I mean, it's, the tour alone, results aside, have been incredible. But, to get the kind of games we've gotten and the results we've gotten, and, I mean, to rush the field back-to-back weeks at different SEC venues it's hard to put it into words, truly.
Chris, tell me why the Alabama dynasty is not over.
Why is the Alabama dynasty not over? Well, I mean, listen, it's a place that recruits itself. The Alabama brand is going nowhere. There's still a lot of talent on that team, but I'm answering the question for the sake of answering the question, Cole, because the reality is it is over compared to what Nick Saban had it at. Also, guys, we're calling it a dynasty. They haven't won a national championship in 4 years. So to be a dynasty, Georgia at this point is more of a dynasty than Alabama right now. So, I don't think anybody thought the next head coach was going to be Nick Saban. It's just an unfair expectation to have, but I don't think anybody thought it would be this rocky early on either. To see what Kalen DeBoer and, I mean, the struggles they're having, and again, we're going to this game in Knoxville with Tennessee and Bama, and it's interesting. Neither fan base, I think, is feeling all that great about their respective football teams, but somebody has to win this game, which is going to make it fascinating.
Look them up on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. I'm guessing you're on TikTok as well, maybe 100 other different platforms. SEC Unfiltered, man, what you've grown this thing into is just, it's truly impressive to watch what you've done there. I want to ask you a question that it gets thrown around at water coolers and message boards all the time. In your opinion, is Florida, given all its trappings, a significantly better job for Lane Kiffin than Ole Miss? Everybody loves to say, oh, Lane's going to Florida. Lane's going to Florida. Well, at Ole Miss, he doesn't have these sky-high expectations. I'm sure they're growing with what he's done there, but he doesn't have the same type of pressure that he would have in Gainesville. So for Lane, is Florida a better job?
For Lane, what makes that question interesting, Diesel, is I think that's a question he has to answer for himself, because there's different angles to take. Maybe for Lane at this point in his career, the idea of leaving somewhere where he's really comfortable, where his kids are in school, where I believe he actually built a house just recently, maybe for him that's not a good decision. Now, if we're just talking from the football perspective, because I hear what you're saying about there's not as high expectations, that goes without saying. But after a while, these Ole Miss folks that are spending this money, they're going to become bothered if they're not making college football playoffs and maybe winning games in the playoff as well. So the expectations aren't the same. I mean, you're not expected to win a national championship at Ole Miss, but I do think the expectations have risen because of Lane Kiffin. Now, I would say this. Is Florida a better football program in terms of ceiling? Yes. I think you can do things at Florida that are just, until someone shows us, proves otherwise, I don't know that you can do it at Ole Miss. You can realistically go to Florida and win a national championship. I think you can realistically go to Florida and be a program that goes to the playoff, let's say 7 times a decade, which I think for most programs is going to be a really impressive mark. You might have your top 0.001% that are going, 9 or maybe 9 years or every single year in a decade. But realistically, if you can go 70% of the time, maybe 80%, I think Florida can be that kind of program. I don't know that Ole Miss can be. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful of Ole Miss, because I think, you're not what your past says you are. You're not your history or tradition or whatever. This is a battle that, South Carolina's fighting actively, right? Like you're not what the past 100 years or so say you are, but then you look at it, there's proof of concept at Florida that there's just not at Ole Miss. But I think internally for Lane Kiffin, it's about what does he want? What does he want to achieve? Is he okay being at a place where, hey, you know what? As long as we're going 8-4, 9-3, the occasional 10-win season, that's good enough for me. And I feel like this is probably the right answer. Do the competitive juices take over? And he's like, I'm putting all this effort and work in. I'm recruiting. I'm doing NIL. I'm doing portal. Like, I want to win it all. I want to win a ring. And I just wonder if that, we talked about over the summer, guys, is what's the more likely path for him to end up at Florida? They go to the playoff, win a few games, and he kind of rides off into the sunset, quote unquote, or they go 8-4, which it looks like they very well could, and he has to throw his hands up and say, I just cannot do it here. So, from the football program perspective, I do think Florida is still the better job than Ole Miss.
Chris, sometimes in sports, we overcomplicate conversations. When it comes to South Carolina not winning the close big games, LSU, Alabama, are we overcomplicating it in a manner where the word turnovers is all that really matters in terms of South Carolina getting over the hump?
I mean, guys, football is a really simple game. I mean, most sports are, right? It comes down to turnover margin. It comes down to, to the clutch, making the big play in the big moment, timely plays, if you will. It just depends on the sport, what you're talking about. But, win the time of possession, win the turnover battle, don't shoot yourself in the foot, don't make dumb penalties. You're probably going to win the football game. I mean, you could break it down to this. If you got a better coaching staff, the better quarterback, and you're at home, you're probably going to win every single time. There's very few you're going to lose of those. So, I mean, listen, I think it's just fair to say that South Carolina right now, I think the biggest thing they're feeling the effects of a young quarterback, and it's the turnovers. I think I saw a stat. Lenore Sellers has 7 touchdowns. To his credit, he's got 10 turnovers. It just, and I mean, these are the growing pains that, and we've talked about this with Nico. Nico over at Tennessee, he's struggling too, but he's got a better team around him. And I mean, they've lost a game, but if he had, let's just call it for what it is, South Carolina's personnel surrounding him, they probably would have lost a few more. So I just, South Carolina does not have the personnel around Sellers to make up for it. And, when you're making mistakes at the quarterback position, the most important position on the field, I mean, that was the difference on Saturday, right, against Alabama between winning and losing that football game. And I know for South Carolina fans, that's what drives you crazy, because it's the story of Gamecocks football. You're ever so close, but you find a way to trip up right before the finish line and finish in second.
Chris, do you believe in Shane Beamer's ability to keep the game breakers that they've got on the roster right now on the roster into 2025 and 2026? I mean, we've talked a long time about, South Carolina feeling like a little bit of a feeder, right? As soon as you develop somebody who's really good, poof, he's off to Oregon. Poof, he's off to this place. Poof, he's off to that place. How much faith do you have in Beamer to keep guys like Mazio Bennett and Nick Harbor around?
I mean, I think about as much faith as I'd have anybody else in that situation. I just think it's a difficult situation. He's not the only one. I mean, I think you're seeing this at other schools as well, right? I mean, some of it is out of his hands in regards to, continuing to improve the NIL situation. I'm not as familiar with it as I once was, but I know that when, the last time I talked to folks over there, that it was an improving situation. I mean, look what they did going to get a guy like Kyle Kennard. Look what they did getting a guy like Dylan Stewart on campus. I know that's kind of the joke, right? Dylan Stewart's been breaking out. People are like, well, where's he going to play next year? So, but he could have went anywhere out of high school, and he chose South Carolina. And I'm sure, again, their offer was very competitive, if not better than everybody else's. So you're going to have turnover every single year. It's going to happen. The biggest thing is, to your point, Diesel, you don't want to have the back-breaking departures, losing the Jaheim Bells of the world, or the Marshawn Lloyds, or, I was going to say Juice Wells, but I mean, he's just been kind of okay he hasn't done a whole lot at Ole Miss. So that one's kind of one where South Carolina, I mean, I've seen a lot of stat comparisons with Wells and, Mazeo Bennett, where it's like the numbers are pretty much the same. So we're getting a better deal. So I think you got to trust Shane Beamer in that regard, but yeah, it's a really tough thing, man. And I thought you saw the Garnet Trust step up, obviously, in the last year's cycle, where guys like Tonka Hemingway and Debo Williams and some Nicky Manwari, some others that maybe had opportunities to go elsewhere, what have you. And I know that sickens people to say that, but welcome to the world of college football. We're just signing guys to one-year contracts. So, But I believe in Shane Beamer as much as I probably believe in anybody else in that position, unless you've just got like the best coach in the country where it's like it'd be stupid for me to leave. But everybody's dealing with it to some degree.
Chris, last question for you. Two-part question. Number one, your upset pick. Number two, tell me why I'm wrong when I tell you that LSU has a chance to be a national championship contender with Garrett Nussmeier.
I'm going to start with the second part first. I don't think you're wrong. I think they absolutely have a chance, especially if that defense is playing the way that we saw against Ole Miss. Yeah. And I know Garrett Nussmeier was very up and down. Funny enough, people are telling me he played terrible. I'm like, he won Offensive Player of the Week. He threw for 354 yards. I mean, I agree he made some baffling throws in that game, but had ice in his veins when it mattered most. But the reason he had that opportunity to make those plays was because of the defense. I mean, Blake Baker is worth his weight in gold, the way they're flying around, swarming to the football. You know, I expected the culture of their defense to be a lot better, going from Matt House to Blake Baker, and I think you're seeing that. It's LSU. Like, they still have talent, and even with the injuries they suffered, it was really impressive what they did against Ole Miss and Jackson Dart and that entire offense. Upset pick of the week, guys. We've been talking a lot of Gamecocks. I'm going to go with South Carolina in Norman to get the outright win. That spread was +3. I don't know if I still get credit for that. I checked right before the show, and it's +1.5. So people are hammering that line. I tell you, though, guys, my comment on that game, our entire staff is picking South Carolina. I'm obviously picking South Carolina. When I look at games, I try to look at a path to victory for both sides. I don't know why Oklahoma's favored, and that scares the hell out of me. I don't know why they're favored. I mean, even with South Carolina's struggles offensively, I trust South Carolina's offense far more than I trust Oklahoma's banged-up offense with a shoddy offensive line, with a backup quarterback. I think South Carolina's defense is going to feast in that game. The final score might be 13-7, but I think it'll be South Carolina that finds a way to win it.
Chris Phillips, you're the best. We appreciate you. We could spend another half hour talking to you if we had the time to do it. But that's why everybody needs to go find you across all of your platforms. You're going to get some great SEC information out of you. Appreciate your time today, bud.
Diesel Cole, you're all the best, man. Y'all take care.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, man.
SEC Unfiltered, Chris Phillips right here on the Fan Upstate, man. He's absolutely crushing the game since he's expanded from covering just the Gamecocks to the entire SEC. Doing a great job there.
We'll get back into the Upset Picks Challenge. One more hour today for you to get your upset pick in next. It is time. It's been time since 4 o'clock, but it's time to continue the Upset Picks Challenge. How are you feeling, Tolos? You feeling confident? You feeling like Ricky Bobby?
Well, Dick, here's the deal. I'm the best there is.
Or are you just kind of feeling the blues like I am? Sometimes I feel the Upset Picks Challenge blues. Diesel, I have only hit one time this season.
Everybody cries.
I'm going to just let you keep singing for the next 10 minutes. I think it'll be great radio.
This conversation never happened, by the way.
Diesel, I have not done well.
Well, quit making stupid picks, Cole.
I know, but I've
That's
got
the
a
problem.
good one. I've got a good one this week.
Yeah?
I've got a good one. Yes. I have not made smart picks as of yet, but I'm changing that.
Who'd you put your faith in?
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? I'm not going to say
you can't just say I have a good pick this week and not tell people who it is you picked, because they're gonna know. They're gonna know.
But they're
next
gonna want
week.
to copy mine because I'm so good at this.
So I wonder how many people have copied you before you.
I know at least one. At least one. Look and see, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure at least one has.
So, including yourself, 7 Tolos have picked this game.
See?
7.
I'm not the only idiot out there. Diesel, I am picking NC State, the Wolfpack, to take down Cal. Not California, but Cal. They don't deserve their full name this week because they're going. By the way, Cal is a 10-point favorite. It's in California. NC State's going to go get their first conference win of the season on Saturday. Book it.
Bro.
What is yours?
Bro, why would you make such a silly pick? Why would you make such a silly who's even playing quarterback for NC State this week?
Doesn't matter.
You don't know.
Pack, man. We're gonna rally together.
No. I picked a good one. I picked one that I should have picked. My God, if I had picked the one that I picked last week, I'd have another 5.5 points on the board, but I got greedy. That's the problem with me, is I got greedy and I went for that 9-point stretch, Cole. But I am going, I'm going to apologize to the football gods and pick Arizona State, who's 5-1, by the way. Good football team. 5-1 Arizona State on the road at Cincinnati. This game is worth 5.5 points to me. Cincinnati with the fighting Scott Satterfields, zone read up the middle.
Oh, God.
I'm taking that one. I've got, according to the ESPN matchup predictor, a 38% chance to get this one. And this is what blows me away. You know, like, you look at the spreads and you say, well, why is the spread that? Right? Yeah. Why is a Cincinnati team that lost to Texas Tech and lost to Pitt 5.5 point favorites over Arizona State, who have beaten a team that people thought was a playoff contending team in Utah and a playoff contending team in Kansas? What like, this doesn't make any sense. And why are they 62% favorites?
Good question.
At home? It's not like you're traveling to Europe to play this football game. So I'm going with the Sun Devils, hoping that I can get rid of that bad mojo from not picking them last week.
Devil?
Well, it's a warm version of a Blue Devil.
Great answer. Great.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I'm catching strays on the Facebook stream.
Who would win in a fight, a Sun Devil or a Blue Devil?
Oh, the Sun Devil, because they have the sun powers.
Power of the sun.
Yeah, they throw the sun.
Yeah,
out.
but sometimes it's really cold when the sun is out.
No.
Doesn't make any sense.
Wesley Roberts, Diesel on the stream, says Cal has more letters than Cole does points. Wesley, I mean, I didn't deserve to catch strays on this Wednesday evening. I'm gonna be beating my chest though. Y'all doubt NC State. I'm gonna be pounding my chest, bragging about the Wolfpack after this week, because I'm telling you, they're gonna do it. Y'all doubters, get in line up outside. NC State. I'm on the NC State bandwagon.
We have Tolo. Who is it? Philip Rollins, who gets in. He's taking Colorado +3. They are on the road against Arizona, 3-3 football team.
Brandon and Spartanburg, Nebraska +6.5 over Indiana. I'm glad that audio is great, by the way, but that's all we can air because the rest of it would break every FCC violation in the world.
I wonder how many curse
scene.
words.
Oh, in that scene or in the whole movie? Because in that scene right there, there's words we can't play on radio.
Take a guess, Cole. Thank God I love Google. I love Google being able to find this on the internet for me. Take a wild guess as to how many expletives there are in The Wolf of Wall Street. And while you're thinking about this, I don't want to give the answer away quickly. Tolo's playing along at home. 71307.
The whole movie.
The whole movie. It's all expletives. Okay. Play it if you're watching on the stream. You can get in as well. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to get your text in. How many expletives are there in The Wolf of Wall Street? No.
Come on,
it's a lot. It's more than your 5 points. I can tell you that.
Oh, I'm sure. Look, it's one of my favorite movies ever. Can I guess?
Yeah, you can go ahead and guess.
It's over 100.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
In one movie?
197.
No, there's no way.
You're not even in the right ballpark.
Diesel, there's not 197.
You're not even in the right ballpark right now, Cole.
Are you kidding me? And what? 300. No, there's no way.
Yep, keep going up.
386.
Keep going.
No, there's 409.
Keep going.
500.
Keep going.
No, there's no way. This is not right.
You're not even.
There's no way this is right.
You haven't made the medal stand. I've got the medal stand right here.
748.
715.
There's no way. There is no way.
715 expletives in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh my God! Are you
second place is Adam Sandler's 2019 drama Uncut Gems. With 646 swear words.
There's no freaking way.
Insanely good movie, by the way. Uncut Gems. And then third place, Cole, is Scorsese's Casino.
God.
With 606 cuss words.
I didn't think it'd be even over 400. That many curse words in one movie. Oh God, that's the only scene of the entire movie you can play on radio without a curse word.
If you're a script writer, like, how do you even write that? You just copy and paste because your fingers get tired of typing out the same 4-letter words?
I had no idea it was going to be that high.
Loud.
I did not know. I really didn't know it was going to be that high. That's unbelievable. So the Upset Picks Challenge continues. 71307. If you got off work at 6 o'clock, you just tuned in to Wire to Wire. We know a lot of Tolos get off at 6. Upset Picks Challenge.
Immunity.
What'd you say?
Immunity in the Josh Pate way.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that's what you're saying now. A lot of Tolos get off work at 6 o'clock p.m. and tune into this program. If you want to join the challenge for the first time, I'm calling on a new Tolo. Let's get one right here in this segment, a brand new Tolo that's never played, never participated in the Ingles Upset Picks Challenge. Need your name, your game, and the spread. You're picking an underdog to be the outright winner in the challenge. Look, man, this thing's challenging, but Twisted Whisker Diesel, I don't know how. He leads this freaking thing at 56.5 points. Twisted Whisker right now. Oh,
he's a savant.
He's rocking and rolling, man. He's rocking and rolling.
I can't explain the utter level of domination that Twisted Whisker has on all of us. He currently leads the challenge with a total of 56.5 points. To put that in perspective, Cole has 5.
Thanks.
Melissa Level has 5. Let's see. Tron has 2.5. Is Chris Phillips even on the board?
Yeah, he hit last week.
He is on the board. Chris Phillips has 11.5 points. Mm-hmm. He's taken South Carolina to upset Oklahoma this week. I don't know if he knows that he doesn't have to take an SEC game. He can go anywhere he wants to, but I mean, pick the games that you know, right? Pick the games that you know.
Last week, Diesel took 3.5 points. This week, he's taking one of that.
DB, by the way, did get back to his house, I guess, and pull the stat for us that 4 times this season so far, Cole, we've had Tolos hit 3 weeks in a row.
4 times?
4 times this year.
Jeez.
He says that those 4 have been Amazon Guy, Josh Pate, Tyler B, and Billy Horn. And Tyler B and Billy Horn are still active in their 3-game win streaks. So they can make it 4 weeks in a row if they hit again.
Have you gotten Rob Brown's pick yet for this week?
I have not. I messaged Rob. I messaged him and said, hey, we need your pick, buddy. Are you calling him right now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Live.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
We're about to wake him up. If you're
I
listening,
think,
Rob, you better.
This is illegal, but you know what? He's a radio guy, so he consents.
And doing illegal things is fun. I'm
Speaking
sorry. Let me hit
sports
the
betting.
on that.
Speaking of sports betting.
What is sports betting?
Yeah, I don't know anything.
Can you
about
explain that to
I
me?
don't know anything about that. Again, you Tolos who have never participated in the challenge, you're picking an underdog to get the outright win, the outright upset on we use the spreads on ESPN.com. So if you need help with the spreads, go to ESPN.com, go over to the college football page, and then look at all the games that have yet to be played this weekend. Pick a game where you believe the betting underdog will get the outright win, not playing against the spread, playing against the outright upset, and then text it to us, 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. Text in, give us your name, your game, and the spread. We lock those spreads in at 3 o'clock on Wednesdays, so sometimes the spread can move around on us just a little bit, but you will get the points by which that team was an underdog as of Wednesday at 3 o'clock.
Rob's a loser.
Never
He
answers
just
the phone.
declined. I didn't even get a ring.
God,
I mean,
Rob.
straight to voice. He's probably doing some radio show where he's talking about sports gambling, which is illegal and you shouldn't do, by the way. But I've tried like 4 times to call Rob and put him on the spot. Hadn't worked.
Who does he think he is?
He's big time.
He better be up from his nap by now.
Diesel, here's the top 15 of the Upset Picks Challenge. John Corley at 15, Brendan Gosnell 14, Kevin Buggs, Mike Main, Coach AJ, Amazon Guy at 10, Reese Davis 9, Joe D at 7, as well as Reed Atkins, Billy Horn at 6, who's hit 3 times in a row, 3 weeks in a row, rather. Josh Pate at 5, Buckeye, Brian 4, John Dog 3, Noel 2, and Twisted Whisker 1. That's the top 15. I'm telling you, man, I'm not an analytics guy, but if you're not right now currently, Diesel, if you're not inside the top 25, I don't think you have a shot to win this contest. I really don't. Like you would have to right now, in my opinion, be in the top 25, maybe 30. Am I wrong there? Top 25 to 30 to have a shot to actually win the thing?
Yeah, because we've got 6 weeks plus pre-Christmas, then post-Christmas bowl games. We've got 8 weeks left, and we hadn't quite figured out how we're going to handle this expanded college football playoff yet.
What's that?
You could only lose at this point probably max. That's if he just like fell off the face of the earth and stopped picking, in which case we'd have to do a wellness check on him because Twisted Whisker ain't going to miss anything.
Yeah.
You could lose at most 16 points by not picking at all for the remainder of this challenge.
Well, it's a 34.5 point difference right now, Diesel, between first and 25th.
Oh my God.
34.5 freaking points.
Wesley wants to know, do we have the games that Twisted Whisker has won? Has it been consistent or a big win? That's completely insane. Well, lucky for you, we do go back and we do have our Google Docs with all of the winners. So last week, Twisted Whisker took Vandy plus 13.5 over Kentucky. That was his week 7 upset pick. His week 6 upset pick was SMU plus 7 over Louisville.
It's a good one.
And then his week 5 upset pick. It's great radio.
Yeah, you're having to do the Kelley Ford. Let me look.
It was he took Colorado over UCF for 14.5 points.
Oh man. And
So,
is that Amazon Guy? Is that Justin on the Facebook stream? Or am I wrong on that? I could be wrong. I'm sorry. Justin on the Facebook stream says, I've picked Vandy twice. I picked South Carolina to beat Kentucky. Is Justin Twisted Whisker? I don't know. Who are you? What's your?
Yeah, this is the weird thing, guys. If you interact with the show on multiple different platforms, I mean, it would be awesome if you put like Tolo Twisted Whisker.
Yeah, thanks, Justin.
On your you should just change your Facebook name. Justin, just go ahead and change your Facebook. Just be Twisted Whisker. You are Twisted Whisker.
I like it.
I
like it.
You can just change your Facebook profile. Your dear old grandma's gonna be like, who is this Twisted Whisker? Doesn't matter.
That's a great name.
Doesn't matter, Grandma. We're talking sports radio here.
Logan Simpson wants Nebraska over Illinois 6.5. I like it. Okay. You know what? I believe,
talked me out of that one yesterday.
I was going to say, I thought you and I discussed that game. You didn't end up taking that one, obviously. For those that just tuned in, you're taking the Sun Devils.
I am taking the Sun Devils over the Bearcats for 5.5.
I'm taking NC State over Cal in a game they're going to win. It's just going to happen. Now,
I hate second guessing myself. I always go back and look at the games that I considered and seeing because I always pick 3.
Yeah.
And if one of my 3 hits and it's not the one that I picked, I'm mad. But if 2 out of the 3 hit, like both of the ones that I decided not to go
last
with
week,
I just want to give up. I want to drive into oncoming traffic.
Give up if you want to. Don't do the second thing. Hey, let me ask you this to put you on the spot one more time. 2 games tonight: Western Kentucky at Sam Houston and FIU versus UTEP. Oh God,
why are you laughing when you say that?
UTEP's 0-94. They suck. Are there any Tolos that you know that have placed an upset pick on either? I don't recall.
No.
Okay.
This Western Kentucky Sam Houston game. Now, granted, it's a 1.5 point spread. I think this is going to be a good football game.
Well, it's Conference US.
4-2 and 5-1 football team. How about people aren't talking about Sam Houston State the way that, for example, people talked about Georgia Southern when they moved up into the FBS, when App State moved up, when James Madison moved up, when Coastal Carolina moved up. People aren't talking about Sam Houston in the same way. And they're 5-1 right now. I mean, this is a FCS power that moved up and has found a tremendous amount of success early in their tenure. I get it's Conference USA, but it's not as if 10 years ago the Sun Belt was anything to write home about. But people still gave Georgia Southern an app credit. So why are people not giving Sam Houston enough love on a national scale for doing what they've done?
Mr. Mascot guy, what's their mascot?
Sam Houston. Well, it's cheating because I can look at the logo right now. No,
Don't be a cheater.
No. I'm looking at the scoreboard right now, and their logo has a little tiger paw in it. I think they're the Bearcats, but I'm not positive.
Something with the claw.
Sam Houston. It's got a little paw on it.
Kitty cats. No.
Sam Houston State mascot, they are the Bearcats.
Bearcats, you got it right.
They are the Bearcats.
Chase G on the text line 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Chase G wants Stanford over SMU 16.5. That'd be a big splash, Chase G, but Stanford's terrible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to rain on your parade or anything, but it doesn't seem like there's.
We're in that time of the season, though, where people are taking big old swings. They're swinging for the fences. The problem is, too many of you people are hitting right now, and I don't like it. I'm trying to play this game. I'm trying to play this game the way football is supposed to be played in the 1940s, running the ball up the middle.
Well, I've already told you once, I don't play games that I'm not good at because I'm super competitive and I hate to lose.
What's your excuse here?
I don't know.
What are you going to do, Cole? Like, legitimate question. What are you going to do if you get all the way back to 0?
Stop.
If you miss 5 more weeks in a row.
I'm going to cry.
Cole misses 5 more weeks in a row, and he falls all the way back to 0. What
I'm going to cry.
Gonna do? We're going to try to make you guys a little bit smarter next and talk to Kelley Ford of K Ford Ratings. Fantastic website, fantastic social media accounts. You're going to hear from him next. So many of you Tolos getting in your upset picks already, to the point we've already built up 39 Tolos. And we got Wesley Roberts in the stream says, I would pick the ECU game if I was in the challenge. Why haven't you picked that one? Why are you not in the challenge? Come on, man. What are you waiting for? It's fun. We go to the phone lines right now. Bring on, for the first time on the stream, Kelley Ford of K Ford Ratings, a part of the show in video, in Technicolor. Kelley, I'm going to ask you a big brain question to get started here, okay? It was a hotly debated question in the last segment of the show. What's better, waffles or pancakes?
Wow, you guys are hitting me with the important questions right away. So I'm, wow, that's really tough. I enjoy making pancakes. I really do. It's something easy, something I can make. The kids like it. But if we ever in a pinch, you just throw the waffle in the toaster. I think at the end of the day, I probably like a good, not a toaster, but a good waffle more than pancakes, even though I enjoy making pancakes more than waffles, if that makes sense.
Sorry, Cole. Power ratings. Excuse me. He doesn't do rankings. He does ratings. Power ratings. Waffles won. Pancakes too.
I'm upset. I'm very offended by that, Kelley. We appreciate you coming on the show. If a Tolo were to go on your website today, Kelley, for the very first time and look at your power ratings, they would ask the question, Week 8, power ratings, top 30, Ohio State 2, Oregon 8, but Oregon beat Ohio State on Saturday. Kelley, can you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And this happens every single year, and it happens with a ton of teams. I mean, you'll see Ole Miss, power rated number 5. That team has 2 losses right now. Power ratings react very differently than the public and then I would say, resume rankings. Because if you look at my most deserving page, you'll see Oregon, number 1 in the country, Ohio State, actually number 15. So those are 2 very different things. From a power rating standpoint, what we're looking for is based on these teams and their makeup, and that includes still to this day some preseason weight and components. Projecting forward, if these teams played again tomorrow on a neutral field, who would be expected to win? Who would be favored to win? And I think Josh Pate even got it. I mean, he has the partnership with FanDuel now, right? And he even had FanDuel confirm for him they would make Ohio State a 2.5-point favorite over Oregon if they played on a neutral field tomorrow. So, it's not unheard of, and I'll say it's not even wrong to have Ohio State power rated above Oregon right now. Yes, we just saw the game. Yes, Oregon just won. If you play that game, 10 times, Ohio State probably wins 5, maybe even 6 or 7 of those games. They didn't. They lost the one that mattered. Oregon gets the credit in the most deserving rankings. Ohio State not going to be punished a ton in the power ratings. They were downgraded 0.3 of a football point per game. Oregon, for their performance, upgraded almost a point, but certainly not enough to overcome that difference of a 2-point game in Eugene, where down to the very end could have gone the other way.
Kelley, in the spirit of double jeopardy, let's stay right there and re-adjudicate this Ole Miss LSU game. I'm looking at your power ratings, and Ole Miss, they dropped a considerable amount in the AP rankings, but they've stayed put at number 5 in your power ratings, whereas LSU jumped up 2 spots based on their performance in that overtime win at home against the Rebels. Who does that say more about, Ole Miss and their perceived quality despite 2 losses, or LSU's ability to go get a big home win?
I think it tells a story for both teams, and let's focus on the team that won the game, and that would be LSU. And you talk about, Kelley, you didn't bring them down, but the AP did. Agreed, and the AP should, and my most deserving did as well. Ole Miss was up in the top 25 in my most deserving. I think they were number 23 last week. They have now fallen to number 33 in my deservedness metric. But in terms of, again, you play that LSU Ole Miss game 10 times. LSU guys, and I'm sure you know this, LSU did not lead in that game at all. The only time LSU led was there was 0 seconds on the clock after they score a touchdown in overtime. There was not a single second of game time play that LSU led in that game. So I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest that if you play that game a few more times, does LSU win a few of those? Would Ole Miss win a few? Ole Miss was downgraded more than a point in the model for their performance. LSU was upgraded about a point. But again, the difference from where they started to that change is not enough to overcome that differential. So LSU, to their credit, again, huge jump up up the most deserving rankings. They were number 20 last week. They are now up to number 9, my number 2 1-loss resume ranked team behind only Georgia in the 1-loss category.
Kelley, we were having a conversation earlier this week with some Clemson fans who are listeners of the show, and just comparing this Clemson team to, Clemson teams that have won the championship, obviously, to 2018, the most recent example. But what we were talking about was the way that Clemson was dominating their opponents, right? We have the conversation of what happened against Georgia, what they're doing now, and what this Clemson team will look like 2 months from now against another playoff team. By your metrics, does this Clemson team look different than they did in 2018, or is it pretty similar?
So I want to be careful here because, guys, for me, and I do have historical power ratings estimates for teams that go back to the very beginning of college football. We're talking 1869. Like, we're going all the way back here. Clemson in 2018, out of any team that's played college football at the highest level, for me, since 1869, Clemson comes out as like the number 2 power rated team in the 2018 version. So that's a historically all-time great college football team, not just for Clemson standards. I mean, for college football standards. So I don't think it's really fair to compare the 2018 team really to even the 2016 team that won a national championship. Certainly not this year's team either. However, what I will say is that this Clemson program, we've talked about it on this show before, from 2015 to 2020, never finished worse than number 5 in my power ratings. I mean, that's a long period of time to be power rated in the top 5 at the end of the year. Then 2021 comes and you're number 9. You're thinking, okay, maybe it's just weird post-COVID. What's going on? 2022 and you're number 10. Still really good, but the Clemson standard has been top 5. Then last year happened, and for all the losses, Clemson still finished number 19 in the power ratings. You came into this year at number 16. You're now up to number 10. And you guys might recall, I even said going into the Georgia game, don't take the results of the Georgia game too harshly, either good or bad. This team can recover from a bad performance and will certainly maintain a good performance. They have bounced back in a big way. They've been upgraded 4 points in the model since the preseason. This is my favorite to make the ACC championship game. I still do have Miami power rated ever so slightly ahead of Clemson. So I would favor Miami in that game. But right now, Clemson has the highest projected win total in ACC conference games of any team right now. So I certainly like what I'm seeing from Clemson. They've been really good on offense. Number 9, that's the best we've seen on Clemson from the offensive side of the ball since 2020. And the defense has bounced back after a little bit of a slow start. They're up to number 16, which by Clemson standards is not very good because that's how good they've been on that side of the ball, but still a really, really good team. Top 16 on both sides, number 10 nationally. I think this team is primed for a run into the postseason.
Kelley, JD asked the question on the stream. He said that you have South Carolina favored in 2 more of the remaining games, underdogs in 2 more of the remaining games. Where are the other 2? I mean, you got to think at this point that Vanderbilt game, which seemed like a very easy win for South Carolina, at least on paper at the beginning of the season. Well, that has been thrown out with the bathwater. It's a very different Vanderbilt team than what we thought they would be. What's your story there?
Some people, I'm going to talk about Vanderbilt for 1 second. I'll get to JD's question. Some people have given me some flack, if you guys can believe it, about Vanderbilt being power rated number 45. And I'm like, hold on now. We're talking about Vanderbilt here. Number 45, that's really good, should be celebrated. They're saying it's not high enough. Maybe it's not, but when you're a team that was, power rated in the 70s, 80s, 90s in recent years, it's going to take you a minute to climb up. Vanderbilt is number 23 in the most deserving rankings this week. So cracking the top 25, which is really impressive for a Vanderbilt team. South Carolina, and you can go to the website, k4ratings.com, go to the projections tab. You can see this is what I'm looking at right now. I do have South Carolina as a projected 1-score underdog in 2 remaining games, and it's the next 2 games. On the road at Oklahoma, projected to be 1 score. Then you're off week 9, week 10 at home against Texas A&M, projected to be a 1-score underdog. Those are denoted with the yellow fill in the week column on the website. The next 2 games after that are the 2 that I'm projecting as 1-score favorites for South Carolina. That would be on the road at Vanderbilt, a team that by some I'm not showing enough respect to. And then how about this? At home against Missouri, a team that really got the doors kicked in against Texas A&M, but is looking to bounce back. And then your final 2 games, a big favorite at Wofford and a multi-score underdog on the road at Clemson as things project right now.
It's very interesting. I do want to go back to something that you just said, though, Kelley, talking about Vandy, where they were in recent years, where they are now. It taken some time for Vandy to climb those power rankings. For any new listeners out there, any new Tolos, does it take years for your formula, for your calculations to allow a team to be able to be boosted in the top 25, or is that a season-by-season situation?
Yeah, it's certainly season by season, and it's really week by week. But when we're talking about a program like Vanderbilt, and again, I saved this on the website under the preseason realistic expectations tab for accountability, for clarity, for whatever people want to see. So you can see what my numbers thought about Vanderbilt and all 134 FBS teams coming into the year. But one of the things I like about my preseason realistic expectation snapshot is it gives the 10-year history of the program over on the left as well. So if you look at Vanderbilt, coming into this year, I had them power rated number 85. So I had this as the best Vanderbilt team we have seen since they were number 49 in 2018. So I certainly expected Vanderbilt to be better this year than they've been in years past. But if you just look at Vanderbilt's recent history, 97 last year, 89 2 years ago, 117 in 2021, 121 in 2020. I mean, this program has been down, certainly, with Diego Pavia there, and things are going in the right direction. Clark Lee, head coach. I mean, they've got it rolling now in the right direction. And my model is continuing to upgrade them week over week, but you're not going to jump from the 80s to the top 25, even in the course of, 2 or 3 weeks. It takes a little bit of time. So the model's adjusting. It's accounting for Vanderbilt's recent surge. And if they keep playing this way, then it's not out of the realm of possibility they find themselves, in the top 30 of the power ratings by the end of the year.
Find his website, kfordratings.com. Look him up on Twitter and social medias at KFord Ratings. You're going to learn a lot every single time you go on his website. Don't look now, but the Florida Gators, Kelley, are inside your top 30 after that close game this past weekend. If you were advising the Florida AD, alumni associations, boosters, all the people that are a little twitchy, the ones that raised $28 million to fire Billy Napier midseason, how would you use the numbers to point them towards keeping Billy Napier?
So I'm looking quickly to pull this up here. And you said they're in the top 30 of my power ratings. They are, from a resume standpoint and the record they have. They are right now number 45 and the most deserving. So I'm not suggesting that this team should be ranked in an AP poll or anything like that. But I am suggesting that this team, from a power rating standpoint, is still pretty darn good. So right now, and I'm pulling up the realistic expectations from the preseason for this team as well. Right now, if you look at this team, number 29 overall, 24 on offense, 47 on defense. Compare that to the recent history. So Billy Napier gets hired, I think 2021 was his first year, or 2022, one of those years. This team was number 31 in the power ratings in 21, 30 in 22, 36 last year. Now they're number 29. I think this team is getting better under Billy Napier. He's certainly made some questionable in-game decisions throughout the course of his tenure, and that's a separate conversation. But if you look at the overall health of the program, I would suggest that they're trending in the right direction. And I talked about this in the preseason. They play the most difficult schedule in the country. So if you were expecting this team to win 8, 9, 10 games this year, I would have said, hold on, I'm not sure that's realistic, even though this team is projected as a top 25 or a top 30 power rated team. They are 3-3 as things stand. You look at the upcoming schedule, they're a one-score favorite for me at home against Kentucky. They are a one-score favorite on the road at Florida State at the end of the year. That's how bad Florida State certainly has been this year. But then everything in between is projecting as an underdog. So I still think, 6 wins would be really respectable against the schedule. I'm not sure the patience is there, but I would challenge the athletic director, the boosters, to really look carefully at the talent of this program, how it's grown under Billy Napier, and then just how difficult the schedule has been year in and year out, really since he got there. This year is certainly no exception, and this might be the hardest year of all. So I know 6-6 is not good enough for Florida. I understand, but the schedule has been so tough, guys. I wouldn't pull the plug just yet if I was down there running the show.
We're talking to Kelley Ford of kfordratings.com. If you haven't checked his site out yet, I encourage you to do so. A ton of really good information. What signs, Kelley, should we look for on kfordratings.com over the next year, 2 years, or 3 years that tell us that the Alabama dynasty might be over?
Yeah, that's a fair question. And I think the first place where you're going to want to start is going to the projections tab and then going to Alabama's team sheet. And that's what I'm doing right now, just to see what Alabama's currently rating as. I'm not ready to say it's over just yet. I know they lost to Vanderbilt, which is like sky is falling in Tuscaloosa. I get it. Then the South Carolina game was very, very dicey, and you don't want to see that either as an Alabama fan. I now have them as a slight underdog on the road at Tennessee. But if you look at the profile of this team, from a power rating standpoint, they're still number 3. The offense, believe it or not, guys, is still the number 2 unit in the country by my numbers. It's the defense that's really struggled. They're at number 18 right now. So really struggled is a relative term based on the Alabama dynasty that we've seen for the last 15, 20 years under Nick Saban. But Kalen DeBoer, is not necessarily going to be the defensive mastermind that Nick Saban was. So you can expect some regression on that side. Maybe the offense needs to pick up that slack, and so far they have. So if you want to see how is this program declining, look at the Alabama tab, look at their team projection sheet, and you can see, from the preseason to now, they have actually been upgraded about a point. The last month has not been good. They had a big surge early on. They've fallen off in the last month. Really, the last 2 weeks, nobody's been downgraded more than Alabama. But this is a program that really throughout the CFP era has never finished lower than number 5 in the power ratings. It's not reasonable to expect that level of elite consistency from anybody. Nick Saban is the GOAT. He's the outlier. Like, we shouldn't expect that replication, but I still think Alabama's stocked with talent. Kalen DeBoer's went everywhere he's been. So I'm not ready to pull the rug on Napier. I'm certainly not ready to pull the rug on DeBoer, even though the last 2 weeks haven't been what Alabama fans are expecting.
Kelley, some fascinating news that we had come out just this past week about the SEC and the Big Ten potentially looking at some sort of a mid-season challenge where they may flex some games and play an SEC team against a Big Ten team at the midpoint of the season. Still don't know what their plan might be for that, if it's going to be, randomized and have them play each other, or if it's going to be 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, and on down the line. And this is maybe a big picture question, not maybe something that your ratings can tell us, but who do you think comes out ahead in those matchups, and who's kind of looking at that and saying, that was kind of a bad idea. We're getting our butts kicked in this challenge.
Yeah, so it certainly depends on how they're going to structure it, right? Is it going to be the 1 versus 1? Is it going to be, hey, top SEC team, you get a middle of the pack Big Ten team, and vice versa? So I do think from a top to bottom, the SEC is certainly the stronger of the two conferences. In any given year, and all you have to do is look at the power ratings right now, in any given year, the Big Ten can compete at the top. The SEC is deeper, and it probably has more depth in terms of elite teams. I mean, the Big Ten, you're talking about Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State. And the SEC, you can talk about Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, maybe even A&M, LSU, right? So the SEC is certainly the better conference and has been the better conference over the course of the last 10, 15 years. I don't expect that to change. I do think that this flex scheduling idea, it's intriguing from the standpoint of, can you get some of your at-large contenders a chance to boost their resume against a good opponent, right? A quality opponent. So it's intriguing. I actually, working in college athletics, I do have a little bit of behind-the-scenes knowledge on the workings of potential alliance there and what that means. So
come on, give us a bombshell. Come on,
unfortunately, I'm not at the level of knowledge that I'd be able to, or certainly willing to give you that at this point. But it's intriguing. I also, though, just as a college football fan, I mean, take everything else away, I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess, that this can be a positive for the sport as a whole. I really don't want to see a Power 2 breakaway or a super league of 70 teams. I really don't want to see that. I fear that's where we're heading. I think that's bad for the sport as a whole. Perhaps it's good for those 70 programs, maybe, and maybe that iteration of college football ends up being something that we all enjoy. But so much change has happened, so much destructive change, I would say, in recent years. I'm just very cautious of any overarching changes that might be coming, such as this scheduling alliance.
Kelley, great stuff as always, man. We appreciate you hopping on with us, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Final segment of the show. We have not had a chance quite yet to bring you the Daily Wires. And Diesel?
Buzz.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love that buzz, man.
I was trying to figure out Tolo Big Mix upset pick.
Yeah.
Which that sounds like it could be a segment in and of itself.
It
Tolo
does.
Big Mix upset pick.
Yeah. Sponsored by Big something. Yeah.
Whoa, big what?
I don't know.
Big Mick texts in College of Charleston plus 4.5 versus Louisiana RC. Big Mick, are you drunk? Because College of Charleston doesn't have a football team, but through my investigative powers, I figured out that maybe he's talking about Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, who play Coastal Carolina this weekend. But I'm going to need you, Tolo Big Mick.
I love it.
To text back in with the correct game because I don't want to assume for you.
Hey, the good thing is College of Charleston will not lose. Like, they won't lose. You know? I mean, there's no chance they lose unless they got a football team between last weekend and now. I mean, maybe they threw one together. I don't know. Diesel, just a couple of quick headlines. I know we got to run here in a minute. The Yankees, they did take game 2 of the ALCS yesterday over Cleveland, 6-3. They have a 2-0 lead. Aaron Judge had his first postseason home run. Game 3 of the NLCS is tonight. Walker Buehler versus Luis Severino, 8:08 first pitch. That series is tied 1-1.
Why is it 8:08?
Well, based on the calculations, I don't know.
Stupid.
I don't know.
It's unless they're saying it takes 8 minutes to do the national anthem plus whatever pregame ceremonies they've got to do. Like the broadcast starts at 8, first pitch at 8:08.
I don't know why. It's a good question. And baseball does that a lot. They do that a lot. Also, last night in college football, South Alabama beat Troy 25-9. Middle Tennessee State beat Kennesaw State 14-5. At one time, Diesel, that game was 2-0. 2-0. I was like, are you kidding me?
Kennesaw State wound up scoring 5 points in that game.
Wow. Baseball
5.
You know, it's so bad. That game was so bad. I originally, Diesel, last night had that game on split screen with YouTube TV. It was so bad, I just turned it off.
Still better than watching the ALCS.
I didn't watch it last night. New Mexico State, 33 over La Tech. 33-30 was the final there. Tonight, Western Kentucky 4-2 at Sam Houston State. They're 5-1. That might be a good game. The other game, I don't know. FIU 2-4 at 0-6 UTEP. Woo! Throw a party there.
UTEP, as our good friend Ryan McGee likes to call them in his bottom 10 ESPN bottom 10 article every week.
Another mascot trivia: El Paso, Texas El Paso. Their mascot
Miners.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Miners.
Plus, they play in a fantastic football stadium. It's a really cool stadium, like built into a jagged mountain.
Do they have like walls around it for security?
I hope so.
I mean, it's a dangerous place out there.
Yeah.
I drove through it one time and I was told, you ever been to El Paso?
I have not been to El Paso, but I've been to New Mexico, a different corner of the state.
Well, I was told when I drove through El Paso, I was on the way to Phoenix. And the guy that I was with said, look, you don't go on this side of the road. You can go on this side of the road. I was like, oh, wow.
So it's like being in certain parts of Spartanburg.
Yeah, exactly. Behind the beacon. Yeah, pretty much equivalent.
Shots fired.
Yeah. Clemson, they will put C.J. Spiller and track All-American Kim Graham-Miller into the Ring of Honor Saturday. Spiller will be honored prior to the game. Graham-Miller will be honored at the beginning of halftime. That'll be really cool for C.J. Spiller. That's a noon game, right? Yeah, noon game Saturday. Ooh, noon games are rough, but they are.
Score prediction 48 to 17.
48-17 Clemson. Yeah. I don't know. Does Virginia score 17? They might. Maybe 14. I don't think they score a ton, but yeah, I'd say 45-10. How about that? You like 45-10? We'll get more into it tomorrow, but I'm going 45-10. Clemson on top. We'll do it again tomorrow. If you want to, Diesel.
Yeah.
If you want to.
We'll do show 144.
Solo.
Which is 12 times 12.